anything outside of our mental faculties. Even our bodies aren't our own, as we don't fully control them. Musashi, being a Ronin and a Buddhist, was probably aware of this delusion of possession, as well as the burden of attachment to objects and people. His way was one of solitude and practice, and therefore he couldn't afford to be saddened by separations, because life is full of separations. All things come and go, whether it's people, stuff, or wealth. Especially for a Ronin who is traveling from place to place. Attachment to the people he met and the places he visited would have led to continuous grief. Instead, as a Ronin, he had to embrace the temporary nature of things, including the inevitable conclusion of life, which is death. In his book of 5 Rings, Musashi wrote that the way of the warrior is the resolute acceptance of death. For a warrior, life is surrounded by death. The death of the people he slays, of the people that fight by his side, of the people he failed to protect, and of course the risk of being killed himself. Like no other, Musashi must have realized that death awaits us all. By being aware of this and accepting the impermanence of life, we'll have an easier time when we encounter it. 9. Resentment and complaint are appropriate, neither for oneself or others. It's very common for people to spend insane amounts of time resenting and complaining about the world. The traps of resentment and complaint are very easy to fall into. For one with a critical eye and strong opinions on how life should be, there's always something to complain about. But when we find ourselves in a continuous state of resentment about the world, it means that we're focused on others and not on ourselves. For someone who is dedicated to a life of ongoing practice, spending time resenting and complaining about the world or one's own life is detrimental. The world is beyond our control. People will act in ways that don't comply with our ethics and values all the time. People will behave foolishly, rudely, ungratefully. People will dislike us, try to interfere with our lives, treat us unjustly, try to take advantage of us. Furthermore, life isn't fair. We don't get equal shares of the pie. We aren't equally gifted, equally handsome, equally healthy. Trying to change this is a sincere ideal created by the human mind, but it's almost impossible to achieve, as we'll find nature working against us all the time. From a Buddhist point of view, we shouldn't spend too much time trying to change the world, and we should especially refrain from resenting what is. Instead, it's much wiser to focus on ourselves, live the best life we can, while being accepting of those who don't. Or as Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius put it, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. 10. Don't let yourself be guided by the feeling of lust or love. In a previous video, I've explored the different types of love, with selfless love, called agape by the ancient Greeks, on one end, and selfish love, called eros, on the other end. Musashi seems to point to eros in this case, which is a form of love motivated by lustful desire, also known among Buddhists as romantic love. In many of today's cultures, we see that romantic love is elevated to the status of ultimate concern. This human experience is almost seen as divine and thus worthy of our pursuit and sacrifice. Musashi clearly wouldn't have endorsed the way we treat romantic love today. This probably wasn't just because lust and love are so distracting and would have been harmful to his progress as a swordsman, but also because he was a Buddhist, and Buddhists don't buy this sacralization of romantic love. In fact, they are aware of the dangers of being guided by it. Like any other feeling, love and lust can overcome us, but we have the choice whether or not we engage with these feelings. Instead of letting ourselves be blindly guided by romance, it would be wiser not to forsake our ability to think rationally, so we stay grounded and focused on our path. People tend to make very unwise decisions while enchanted by lust and love, from choices that affect their work or violate personal boundaries to violence and even murder. 11. In all things have no preferences. The problem with preferences is that we create a dependency when it comes to the state of the outside world. When we come across something that we prefer, we're happy. But when we incur something that we don't prefer or even dislike, we're disappointed, as we don't have anything to say about what the environment presents to us. By having preferences, we'll give outside circumstances the power over our mood. Our equanimity will depend on whether or not the circumstances are preferable. This is kind of an inferior way to go about life. Musashi encountered many different people, objects, and situations, but had to keep a tranquil mind so he wouldn't stray from his path. Strong preferences would have been harmful to his practice. So it's wise to keep our preferences in check and instead embrace whatever fate overcomes us and make the best out of it. This way, we can never go wrong, and thus the quality of our focus remains independent of the result. 12. Be indifferent to where you live. As a ronin, Musashi wandered over Japan, staying in many different places, from castles to caves. But regardless of where he lived, his way remained the center of his life. People nowadays put great emphasis on their living environment. They care a lot about their homes, the neighborhood they live in, the kind of furniture they possess. But when we're too attached to having certain living conditions, we'll get anxious when these conditions are threatened. When our living situation is truly unsafe, it's of course no luxury to abandon that place. But oftentimes, it's simple dissatisfaction with current circumstances that makes people look for another home. Some people are quickly bored and unhappy with their current home and believe that moving will take away this dissatisfaction. Unfortunately, the sense of fulfillment that follows after moving into a new place is only temporary, because wherever we go, we always take ourselves with us. Satisfaction and dissatisfaction happen within, not outside. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where we live if we're content with ourselves. By being content with our homes, no matter how simple and small, we'll have one less thing to worry about and are more likely to stay focused on our purpose. 13. Do not pursue the taste of good food. Many, if not most people, indulge in the pleasure of the tongue by enjoying a good meal. Some spend long evenings wining and dining, consuming drink after drink and course after course. But foodies, beware. This behavior has its downsides. Miyamoto Musashi discourages the pursuit of good food. His exact reasons for this aren't known, but when we look at what other philosophers had to say about this, we might get an idea. The ancient Stoics, for example, were also concerned about food. They encouraged people to eat simply. Founder of Stoicism, Zeno of Citium, observed that when people get used to eating fancy, expensive meals, they stop appreciating the simple foods. When our appetites become oversaturated, we'll only crave more extravagant and stimulating ways to satisfy the pleasure of eating. Immoderate eating habits could very well turn into gluttony, which leads to health problems. We would say that a glutton enjoys and appreciates food, while the opposite might be the case. Voracious eaters and drinkers usually don't take time to eat mindfully and with an appreciation for the dish in front of them. Instead, they compulsively consume as much as possible to be temporarily relieved from the pain of food cravings. What we could do instead is eat mindfully and in limited amounts and train to cravings. By doing so, we'll be less attached to taste, and our cravings for food will weaken, so we're less likely to overeat. At the end of the day, the purpose of eating is nutrition, as we need fuel to live and thrive. 14. Do not hold on to possessions you no longer need. It seems like Musashi already knew the benefits of a minimalist lifestyle. His life as a ronin didn't lend itself to having possessions. Traveling Japan, staying in different places, fighting duels, perfecting his skill, possessions would only have been a burden. Besides his 2 swords, he only needed the basics to survive and practice. Some people tend to collect possessions as if the accumulation of material goods increases their happiness. This could be the case for a while, but mostly it only creates a hunger for more. Eventually, the more we own, the more weight we carry on our shoulders until we become servants of our possessions instead of the other way around. Clinging to our belongings as well as the pursuit for more creates anxiety, the fear of losing what we have and the fear of not getting what we want. But when we have a higher purpose and are able to achieve higher levels of happiness, there is no point in chasing all these material possessions anymore. In Buddhism, when one finds contentment in stillness, without needing entertainment like television or music, chasing possessions doesn't make much sense. What it all comes down to is the ability to travel light, like a Ronin, so we can focus on what matters. Thank you for watching.
Recon. Put you in the sickle for the harvest is right. We ain't down for wickedness, false prophets a lie. Woe into the wicked grass of blind the sight. Unquenchable flame, stars fall in the night. Shemayim snapped the scroll, mountains fled in the anger. Hills a flock of rams, skipping special forces, recon angels. Really by no labels, we bout labor for the source. Wells up in infinite, waters coming forth. Spiritual revival, dehydration shall I pour. Kept the run down to the mouth, cool floor. Kingdom heaven in me is parts of the morbid head. Treasure like deep in you keep to the never end. We all a ray, a fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on and then you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covenant in Nehemiah, not Easter. We all a ray, a fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on and then you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covenant in Nehemiah, not Easter. Not a game.
God damn it.
The soul arrangement, adversary in the details. Mirrors and smoking angels. Incriminating emails, fake news, read the paper. Pimping who been printing, it's all designed to take ya. Division in your cells, almighty sustain. Ain't got how relying on nothing else. In trouble, it's all vapor, elder wind in the sails. The water, the whole rainbow reclamation, just a vessel, a wrestle. Jonah, you came for. Stay mind, blow it holy. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my way. Stay mind, blow it holy. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my way. Force tremendous, Bill Adam breath, living dust, mushy for the enemy, burnt down like a Dutch. Once upon a distant dirty sacrifice in the ashes. Truth don't grow with mischief, pray get raised about the ashes. Save me from the mire, I would fell if not your pasture. Had you not an anchor, if you save me, I'll be thrown. Thrown to the thief, leech, mind to the corn. Stone in the sling, sing signs in the storm. Rock foundation, time echo with the north. Recon over game, wings fly with the force. All purpose type material to camouflage the course. Tiger stripe, orange, red drip from the source. We all array, your fragment piece of the sea sledge. Point of a center, he segment filled in with ether. He'll be on it then, you're passing the present teacher. Pre-sealed and covenant in Nehemiah, not Easter. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my word. Stay mind, dwell with holy who. Lord, if they only knew how they controlling you, thought still a slave. Look how they holding you, enemy scoping you, word on my wing.
Brian O'Shea, are we going on right now? No, we're not, because I'm going to put a double intro down. Listen to and look at more of me. Let's piss him off bright and early. You know, that love shit usually goes one way, the hating shit usually goes back the other way. And it's usually a motherfucker that has more power and an inspiration who does all the loving, and it's usually the one lacking that doing the hating. So everything as it should be. Now you start to communicate the real idea. Oh, you're far from stupid. Right? There's many folks on here. I know they ain't stupid. They're very clever people. They're very intelligent people when they want to be, but they're very ignorant when they choose to be. They want to ignore the facts, the record, the history, the words, the terms, the etymology, the sentiment, the cause and effect, the logic, where it all leads, the morality. They just want to put all that to the side because they got a feeling and a cause. That is the bane of our existence at this time. That is political correctness. That is division. And that's how our masters are gaming us on all sides, from all colors and all classes, whether you realize it or not. And that's why, for folks who are new, I call myself the Unslaved one, because I'm under this strange notion that we're all in slavery on some level, that we're all being genocided on some level. I mean, I could point to the things they're shooting in the skies. I could point to the things they're shooting in your veins. I could point to your political structures and the corrupt clowns running it that you vote for to be your daddies on all sides. There's many reasons I have, strange as I am, to believe that we're all being enslaved and or genocided, and we don't have the time, energy, and attention to sit around arguing over colorism about it. I think the fact that it's happening to everybody on all scales to different levels is the reason we should be uniting now more than ever. I'm weird like that. Does that sound familiar to any other group of people out there? Hello, anyone with me? I'll wait when it starts to become clear what the obvious dynamic is here on this land, color aside, because we're talking a culture issue, we're talking a class issue, we're talking a status issue. What we're oftentimes not doing enough of is talking common fucking sense. Mr. O'Shea?
Man, fucking nailing it, dude.
We have to hold out that, like they say, while a lot of folks use it as an excuse, we're all growing and learning here. Yeah, there's a fine line growing and learning, but just being a coward and never moving to the next level. I know that because I know me, and you're not going to convince me any different, right? Like, we're on like 3, 5, 10 years of this shit. Motherfuckers, if you're learning at this rate, you're going to be dead before we do what the fuck is minimal and necessary. The only reason that these motherfuckers need to have me in a room because I got the key to this understanding along with other folks, and we need to get this right to do the next right thing. If I have to lead in that perspective, well, then I was chosen to do that. If you motherfuckers want to lead and you want me to play second fiddle and give you the information, I really don't give a fuck about the clout and the credit. At the end of the day, this is what it's going to take to be men and to go to the next level. This is what's going to take for us to actually trust ourselves and each other, respect ourselves and each other. Right? I don't see any other way. Powerful Gorilla Gems intro. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to bring these folks right on in. We got William from yesterday. We appreciate him. He's got the courage to come up here and deal with the likes of this creature right here. Brian O'Shea, of course, world famous comedian. He does have it. Okay. I want to make sure he has the proper status there. I was going to change it if it wasn't. It says world famous. All right, perfect. We got Albright, Mr. Albright. Albright, is that you? Paging yes. Mr. Albright.
Yeah, it is. What's up, Paul?
All right. How are you doing, sir? We're on day 12 of Fat Paulie's no food fasting challenge. We're going for at least 21. And then we're going to see.
Man. That's big stuff, dude. Not a lot of people achieve that. So seriously, congratulations, dude. That's amazing.
We got to do it all here, right? This is a story arc, such as each self's creational story. So, you know, at some point here, we got to heal ourselves from disease. We got to practice discipline. We got to uphold the law. We got to exercise rights. We got to build. We got to co-create. Artistic expression, authenticity, accountability, responsibility, all the things, right? That's what makes.
Are you drinking just water, Paul?
Some juice as well.
And juice. Cool.
Yeah, maybe a half a cup of juice throughout the day.
I got you. That's baller, bro. That's really amazing, man. Not a lot. I don't know a lot of folks who have achieved that level of discipline with their fasting and their diet. That's remarkable and admirable. So good for you, man. I really mean that.
Yeah, I'm here for it, man. I mean, you don't have to thank me for living my purpose. In any way, it's what I should be doing and what I should have been doing. So if anything, I got to thank me, even though I'm late to the game, better late than never. But hey, man, if I could be a source of influence or inspiration for others to do what they need to do for themselves and each other, well, it's a win-win-win-win, right?
No doubt.
And that's what we're doing here. So Joshua's here. Joshua, how are you? Forgive me, but we're gonna, you know, I always feel like I have to sort of be more attentive with Joshua and other folks here. And I don't want them to presume that I'm not necessarily interested in them or care for them. We have a lot going on, while nothing at all. Joshua, do you have anything that you want to report? Anything that you want to speak about, or can we just get right into it with Mr. O'Shea and William and David and other folks who plan to be here?
I don't know. Being honest with you, Paul, I don't know.
Yeah,
So-
these people are doing your head in, right? They're doing me head in. Right? Am I right, or yes or yes? You know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. All right, Joshua. You know what? You want to act like you don't know today? Let's move forward. I know you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I know you know. Are you doing this for? All right, let's just go. We're getting right into it. All right, we got people in the chat right away. Are you doing this for religious purposes? I don't know what that means. I'm not religious, unless you want to go to the etymology of religious, which means reunifying self. That's the process that I'm on board with here. I thought that's why we're all here in this realm, because we have to remember, put the pieces back together of who and what we are, and have it revealed to us as we go along this journey, how we can be and do and have better. So if you mean, am I doing this for actualization and realization purposes? Absolutely. Am I doing this to add on to who and what I am as a character, and to heal myself and to get my life in order? Absolutely. Am I doing this?
Do you have higher mental clarity right now?
I would say so. I mean, I'm always pretty clear. I would say that I'm less. I would say that there's a bit of an energetic frequency consciousness change, in the sense of just kind of feeling more in alignment. I was already kind of there, but I'd say I kind of just kicked it up a bit. So there's a bit more of the kind of clear and concise and
I felt when I did my
transmission.
7-day fast that I was the clarity in my mind was so clear, and it kept just getting more intense and more intense. And I was more in the present moment. I felt like kind of like I was almost walking on cloud 9. It was really,
enlightenment. That's what enlightenment is. So yeah, I would agree with that. I'm still having some pain, some other issues that I have the faith that I'll heal from if I just continue to live rightly and use the remedies that I have.
What are your pains, Paul? What do you got going on?
I got something with my lungs, my sides of my lungs.
Okay.
I know I have a gallbladder issue. It's been there for a while. That's diagnosed. Other stuff's not diagnosed, but I could conjecture. It really doesn't much matter. It would seem to me that all disease stems from the same source of living.
You just mean toxicity in the body, like lack of homeostasis.
People, places, things around you, inside, thoughts, emotions, actions, the whole thing, whole package.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So, we got David here. David is somebody who travels without license, registration, insurance, all the rest of it. He's got the status correction. You can't change your status, but you can correct the record to reflect what your status always has been, what folks call made in the image of the Most High, what we may just call colloquially a man on the land who has God-given rights, the bedrock foundation of supposed American culture and society. So, David, how are you? Do you want to get into, we spoke earlier, of course, on Brian O'Shea's channel over there. We didn't get into it, but we can get into it here. Tell the folks some of your experiences with the status correction, dealing with policy enforcement in the courts, because they like to say that I'm just up here, whistling Dixie. It's a bunch of sob shit, mumbo jumbo. It's a fantasy. I'm crazy. I'm a lunatic. And then we just get dozens of people over and over again to testify and bear witness to the fact that we're in alignment with truth and rights and freedom and spiritual faith. And we are part of an idea whose time has come. I said a lot there, but go ahead.
Yeah, how y'all doing? I'm David or David. I've since 2019 have been correcting my status, or at least notifying the government of my status. as a non-U.S. citizen national. So one of the levels, the state level, we put an injunction in using the state constitution that's in alignment with the United States of America Constitution. So we use that to use, you know, their language and on how it protects our common right laws. So we put that in with the governor, the chief justice, which is the judge of judges in the state, attorney general, the state's attorney of state's attorney, and the local sheriff. And since then, I've had state officers get behind me, run my license plates because it's supposed to be in the system as do not detain, do not stop, do not interrogate, um, and do not arrest. So when it pulls up from the license plate reader, they don't even have to even waste your time. You don't have to even go back and forth with them. There's been times I was speeding 90 and a 70, and they got behind me, ready to hit the lights, but the license plate reader pulled it up quickly before they hit the lights. They got in the other lane and sped past me because when they read what they read, they get confused. Some of them been around enough to not get confused, but some of them do. So some of them might pull you over. Some might just go about their business. But I've
Now, do you
seen more
attribute
die.
that? Do you attribute that do not detain, do not interrogate, and also it sometimes is said, it's reported on there, lifetime concealed carry holder, even though you didn't get the permit? Do you believe that comes up with the status correction with the passport?
I think it could be both, but it depends on. I've been taught that there's layers to their searches. So some might run a warrant search on a state level or a local level. And then some might go and run a warrant search on a stop to a national level. So I think federally, since it's the United States Department of State that puts you in there as a non-U.S. citizen national in their database, I think federally, if they run a federal, and that's why I like the passport as a non-U.S. citizen national, I can hand them that and they can they can run that, make sure they run that. Some of them don't they just want to run a state search. They want just a driver's license or whatever. But that being attached to the driver's license, that it'll come up even on that. And having it with the local sheriff's department even covers you on a local. So there's just layers of government. So I've also done the passport with the United States State Department on the federal level. So to cover me on all levels. And I've seen probably out of all of my experiences, I think the biggest one that was really impressive to me and to the person that was riding with me, who I was explaining this stuff to, and she was like, that sounds like too good to be true. But we got pulled over, doing 90 and a 70. So we got pulled over. The officer informed me after running me. So I just want to let you know that your driver's license suspended, your vehicle suspended, meaning the license plates on the vehicle suspended, and the tag was out of date, whatever. But at the end of the day, he knew to let me go ride off in this suspended vehicle with no license. He knew to let me go. So
because it turns out on a common law land that service providers, which is what policy enforcement is, can't tell men and women what to do with their property, how fast to take it from point A to point B, and can't restrict or license a right. So that's been upheld with the Supreme Court. That's common sense. That's the foundation of law in this land. And unfortunately, or fortunately for us, very few folks understand this and know this. And it's why, on the whole, that we're in the situation we're in.
And somebody that me personally, I don't really, I'm still learning and trying to understand this, and I don't really know everything about it. I personally was on the phone with David when this happened the first time in Utah and listened to the situation, and blew my mind when he was let go. So I will say that I witnessed this, and it's I still don't understand it. I'm still learning, but I seen it happen.
Yeah,
All right,
that
so
was
there
only
you
the
go.
first
This
time.
is go
That was
ahead.
only the first time on that trip to go to California to visit William. That was the first pullover. There's 3 pullovers. The second time was pulled over for my tents being too dark, and the officer was more. I could tell by speaking with him. He was like, "Don't even, you ain't even got to press me or inform me. I'm already knowing what you're talking about. I just got to run you to make sure you're legit. You're in the system for what you're talking about." So he ran me, came back, not only gave me my credentials back, but in the process of an ounce of weed, because I'm a marijuana smoker, for an ounce of weed fell out the glove compartment trying to get my title to him. And he initially, before running me, said, "Oh, I'll take that too, because it's still illegal in Utah." Well, he brought that back with my credentials, threw it on my girlfriend's lap, which impressed the shit out of her, and said, "Have a nice day." She looking at me like, "I don't know who the fuck you are."
That's your property, man. That's your property. I mean, you
Do
swear
you
in a
record these
Bible.
interactions? Sorry.
Yeah,
Do you
well,
record
we
these
could get
interactions?
into that at some point. Do you record
Yeah,
these?
you said can record it? Yeah. If you ask for my,
Have you, and will you
oh
continue to?
no. Honestly, when it happened, I was more concerned, with other things going on. People in the car.
Those are very valuable, dude. You could put them up on YouTube. I mean, we would
Yeah.
love to see those things. You know what I mean? If anything, audio.
Yeah, I would encourage you just for nothing else, because I'm kind of the same way you are. I got a bunch of court cases and other events that people go, "Why didn't you record all this?" And I go, "Would it ever matter? I could record everything, and then you'd still have an excuse and reason why it's not real and I'm bullshitting." So I again, I have half a dozen things I've recorded at least, more than that. So it's never enough for the average rabble public slave. But I think that, there's a fine line, right? There's a middle ground in the sense of, create some record here, use it for your own purposes to create record, create a channel, spread the awareness. These are interactions that are happening in the public, in quotes. Not that that's a thing, because that's a conceptual thing. Like, what's in the public, right? Okay, so you're outside of your private area where other people can see you and interact with you. So these are interactions in the public. It's fair game, and it benefits in a way the cause. If you want to call it liberty, right? I think there's a distinction between liberty and freedom, but we'll just say liberty for the time being. So yeah, I think that it's a win-win-win-win for you, right? And then it opens up a conduit for other folks to contact you, to not be all in my inbox and other people's. It spreads out the ability to do this fellowship, and then you can show folks what you're doing, right? It's not really about teaching necessarily, but you can show folks what you're doing and who you are as a man, and then allow them to make an informed choice about who they want to be and how they want to live, right? So yeah, and it's content. If nothing else, it's compelling and interesting and entertaining content to watch these folks lose their minds, realizing that some of us are a bunch of weed smoking, loudmouth at time, cursing heathens, according to them. We're so uncivilized, and still some way, somehow, we're a little bit more informed or enlightened or faithful or clever than your average slave who has the degrees and all the rest of the formal, non-formal slave training. Just turns out that the Dunning-Kruger effect wasn't for us; it's for you.
Hey,
yeah.
hey,
so,
sorry, David. How do you?
Can you tell them the second part of the story when you were
the
detained?
third pullover? Yeah. So
the third.
my girlfriend, I've been talking to her about the power of the law of attraction and manifestation, how it works and all that. So right after the excitement of that second, stop, she said, "Well, what happens if you get an unreasonable, uncooperative officer that's not trying to hear you out?" And I told her, I'm not trying to blame her, but I told her not to say certain stuff without expecting the answer, right? So I say within about 10-15 minutes later, we got pulled over again. So I get pulled over, and this time I'm already confident because just what just happened. So I'm going through the whole thing again. This time, this officer doesn't care about looking me up. He doesn't want to look up the passport. He just wants to search my vehicle upon smelling marijuana upon his approach. So I'm explaining the same thing. He's being very challenging. He's going back and forth. I'm like, can you get somebody out that knows it? I thought I was talking to somebody who knew a little bit more. Like the second guy that you spoke with was more, well, I'll say the second guy you spoke with was more open, and he wanted to learn this stuff. And he had some
Oh,
experience.
Sergeant Valdez you're referring to, yeah.
Yeah, so I had an officer that I thought was like that, but I didn't know they were trying to distract me because I had, I shouldn't have, but I had stepped out of my vehicle to speak with this officer and engage him because he couldn't hear me, and I didn't feel like yelling over my girlfriend. So, and I was confident that everything was good. Well, while I was speaking with the other officer, the other guy forced the search. He legally forced the search and found a pound of marijuana, weed smoker, went to a weed event. Went ahead and killed 2 birds with 1 stone. See, my buddy at the same time load up for cheaper than what it is at
Lawful
home.
property, man. We're not interested in legal codes and policies. We're not a member of the legal society.
So it's my right to have them. So I wasn't hurting anyone of the property, or I'm not in no contract to say I contracted with my right to have.
Was the substance controlled, sir? It's referred to as a controlled substance. Did you have the substance under control?
Well, yeah. Well, they consider marijuana there illegal, but it's a misdemeanor. But this is what the guy really wanted to arrest me, and he wanted to justify the stop. So he tried to give me a DUI, just assuming that I gotta be high. If I got all that, I gotta be high. And he went ahead. And usually I'll go ahead and not consent to this stuff, but just like you was like that sounds reasonable. After he just said, I just want the VIN number so we can get on about our business. And you knew you didn't have to, but you met him case for case in this scenario. You thought that was okay. Let me go ahead and do that. So I went ahead and consented to the draw blood after they bogusly weren't taking the little charade they put you through for DUI, passed everything. I think the last thing they did was says close your eyes and count to 30 seconds and let us know when you get to 30. When I said there's 30, they said it was 28. So I don't know if they were using that or whatever, but they went ahead and chose to arrest me for a DUI. I gave consent to take my blood. After whatever, the blood coming back clean or not high enough or them looking up my credentials. Who knows what all was in the background, but they let me out and no charges filed. You know what I'm saying?
You let them take blood?
Yeah, but listen, this is why
you're out of your mind. They ain't getting near me with none of that.
Dude, I would never.
I knew it was gonna be in my defense to let them take it. You see what I'm saying? In this situation, I knew it was gonna work in my favor. Number one, number two, I have a fee schedule in my file.
I don't need any of that because ultimately, I'm not going to ever claim that I'm not going to answer to necessarily what their belief system is or not. But again, this is based on common sense. Man has freedom to imbibe in any of the supernatural products that God has put here for us to experience. Just simply using these herbs and plants does not preclude someone from being able to, as they put it, operate machinery responsibly and accountably. Again, this is a huge generalization to presume that all drugs are created equal, that all plants are like drugs, that they consider drugs, that just anyone using any amount makes them incompetent and incapable. This is not reality, right? And again, they don't get to come into our lives with our property and tell us what we can and can't do when there's no man or woman on the other side, there's no breach of the peace, and there's no loss, injury, and harm being created. It's absolutely absurd.
Yeah. But I got a lawsuit that I'm going back and claim because what I had in place, which my buddy, he put me on this. He's been a national for a long time and doing paralegal work on it, but he helped me put a fee schedule in place. So on the government record attached to my name, whether they look it up and take time to look into it or take it seriously or not, I have a fee schedule saying if I get pulled over, this is how much it's going to cost you per minute. This is how much if I get handcuffed voluntarily or involuntarily. This is how much it's going to cost you. Any DNA specimen, a swab, blood test, fingerprinting, how long incarcerated before you let me go. I have amounts, like they have amounts. This is what a lot of nationals got to learn to take the next step, is that if you are ever taken advantage of. And after the fact, they say, oh, we fucked up. We let you know you need to cash in. Now, you can cash in regardless if you have this in place or not. But this is a way to be like them to say, hey, it's already written in stone that if this happens, this is what you're agreeing to this. If you know this or have the opportunity to know this and you violate certain boundaries, this is what it's going to cost you. So just like a lawyer has on file, if you come and talk to me in a consultation, if you don't even talk to me about any money, you just come in knowing that I have it down that this is how much I charge $100 an hour. You're agreeing to that by sitting down with me. You engage me like that. So I have on file amounts put in place that they automatically owe me if I'm ever violated or if I ever want to come back for my injury, to compensate for my injury. So them not charging files, not pursuing any charges, then I can go ahead and go back. You don't have any justification for what you did. I can go back and charge you for this without just coming up with an irrational number out the back of my head. I can.
Have you brought lawsuit yet with these folks?
Yeah, it's been sent off to the U.S. Court of Claims. So I'm gonna go ahead and I was thinking about trying to negotiate. And I said I'm gonna skip past that because the amount of money it adds up to is so large. I know they're not gonna want to give me that. But if I go to the Court of Claims straight there, then they might want to settle out later for a lot more than what they would, and they would take me seriously. Or I can go ahead and just say, hey, this is what it says in the fine print. I had this in place. If you engage me or take up my time like this or that, these are the amounts. So I'm being reasonable. I put this in place. You still chose to cross these boundaries and not even justified afterwards with any charges filed. So that's one of the things that I was happy that was in place that I wouldn't have thought of on my own without my buddy helping me out with. It's like the same thing they do if you violate a statute or a code or get pulled over for this, no insurance, no license. They have amounts there. They don't just tell you afterwards, we're going to start taking you to court and just come up with what we think you owe us. No, they already have amounts. If you do this, this is what we're going to try to tax you on. It's a way to turn and say, hey, I'm gonna operate like that too. You know, I could tax you for this, this, and this if you violate my personal right.
Right, yeah, I have a handwritten claim right now that we got a court date just issued. So I think it's next month, or she has the date. Whenever we go to the hearing and get it all on record, I'll share it here. But it's very simple, straightforward, and yeah, it should be dependent upon the facts, right, and the status and standing and the jurisdiction, all the rest of it. So pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward. We'll see how it goes. I'll share it as always.
David, how do you go about getting that non-exempted, that non-detainee status? Is it something that where you have to do you have to go through the process of correcting your status as a citizen?
Well, actually, you already have your rights. It's notifying the government that you know your rights, pretty much.
It's just what's your process? I was just curious.
So let me give you an actual physical. So this is the injunction, right? This one's to the Chief Justice.
Now,
so if you notice up there,
are those your original words? Is that a template?
No, this actual template.
Okay.
Not so what it is you take the United States of America Constitution, your rights not given to you, but your rights declared. You take those, and there's every state constitution was supposed to originally be lined up with those and safeguard your rights in the same way. So you got to go in there and find out which, and that's what all this does. It just makes it on the state level, because they try to do that. And I noticed they try to do that with him, is that they try to say, well, I know you keep saying federal laws and U.S. and codes and all that. We're a state and we do what we want. Like they're off the count or something, doing their own thing, renegade, not even a part of the United States.
As if de facto was in that much.
Yeah, but I noticed that they try the same thing on me before, trying to say, well, this is the state thing. This is, this isn't you're not in Illinois no more.
When you say that, like it's a state thing, are you talking about your natural born, like if you're born in Florida, then you're a Floridian? You mean by the state of Florida Constitution?
Yeah.
Or you mean by the state constitution of which you are traveling? Or
Well, you could do I do the state that I was born in to make sure that they're on notice in my state where I'm gonna be mostly at. But what my buddy suggested, and this what it could avoided what I did run into down there, is if you're gonna travel, what you would do is you would take these same words, stuff like take notice that pursuant to 1877 Illinois Constitution, Article 1, Bill of Rights, Section 2322, the General Assembly shall not pass local or special laws in any of the following enumerated cases. Granting divorce, and it goes on and on and on, which also is the right to travel. Is that no municipality, no person that thinks, well, we're not under the federal,
even the de jure state
whatever,
government itself.
They can't hold you accountable to or subject you to special laws, which is stuff that violates your original rights. So if it's actually in the law in the United States Code, even the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld that if there's a law that contradicts the United States of America Constitution, your constitutional rights, then it's not a law, and you don't have to regard it. You know what I'm saying? So
on a right.
Yeah. So this is taking their law, the over law, and saying any laws that you've made since then, any statutes or codes that violate our original Constitution. Nah, I'm protected even you're on a state level. We don't have to talk federally. We can talk about on a state level. I'm protected by your original Constitution.
I see.
When you
make this declaration, obviously you type like a template of some sort. Perhaps you added a few of your own words in there or whatever. Sign it, notarize it, I presume, possibly, or whatever. Now, what's the process from there as far as like getting it to where when a officer decides that he's going to get behind you and run your plate? How did you make that? How did you get to where that correlation was made? Like,
in the back of it, it says it ends like this after putting all their statutes and codes. So now this is the conclusion that you derive into them is, and take further notice that I demand for you to put the name, and if you put your ens legis, all caps, doing business as, and whatever other, different way they might do your, because, they sometimes do the first name, middle name, last name, middle initial, however they might, so you put that, and then it says to be put on the do not stop, do not detain, do not search list for Illinois and all the other states, which they might not do all the other states, they might just do your state, but it's, I reserve all my rights protected by the above said Illinois Constitution, don't waive any of my particular rights, I have a $2 billion lien on this name, for the trespass of my unalienable rights protected by the 1877 Illinois. So it's also putting a price tag on it, like if you trespass on the rights.
Yeah, I hear you. So what do you just submit that to the
So,
Secretary of State?
So I send that. So that's the request or the demand. Actually, it says demand, but
yes, sir.
Which is right. And I send that to the governor. Once to the governor, once to the chief. So it's actually the same thing, except on there in the beginning, it says this David L. Castillo, Corpso, DBA Castillo David L. versus Ann M. Burke, DBA Chief Justice. So the next one will just be the same, exact same everything except governor. So you send one to the governor, send one to your state chief justice, one to your state attorney general, and one to your local sheriff. Okay. And that's all you do is you just put who it's going to, and you put whatever injunction number on there you want. But all it is just having them put it on, and people say, well, how do you know that they did it? Because you don't get no response, obviously, back from.
Of course, yeah, I wouldn't expect you would.
You're taking the faith out of all these people that somebody did their job, that somebody did something, and what I noticed is right after I did it is, like I said, I just knew I was gonna get pulled over after the way that they got behind me. I knew that that's what their intentions were, to run the plate,
that's kind of the system,
and they would
looking back on you.
Yeah, they would change directions. Like, I don't know how many times, like right after this, since this has been going, they would just get out of my way and keep going, and not bother me. It's almost like whatever they pulled up kind of intimidated them a little bit, because I remember one time there was some officers that were just talking. They were pulled next to each other talking. I pulled up to the vehicle and I got tents on it. So they ran my plates and they broke it up and got up out of there. You know, so they don't know who you are. They don't know if you're a higher level state official. They don't know if you're from another country under what they call it, immunity, diplomatic immunity. They don't know who you are, especially if you got tinted windows. They don't know who you are. They just know they're not supposed to mess with you.
To me, that is a trigger point. Like the plate itself is a trigger point. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have to have any piece of metal on the back of our property. That the cop in his head is getting triggered and probably coming at you because of that. You know, they think they got a little power.
Yeah.
You know, so
well, see, the plate can work for you or against you.
Right.
It's like you. There's two ways to handle once you learn all this. Once you open this Pandora's box, you can either say, you know what, I don't need none of this shit, so I'm not going to do it. And every time they pull me over for why didn't you, because they're going to wonder. They're going to pull you, they're not going to know who you are. They're going to identify you. Then you can have the conversation with them. And there's nothing wrong with that, because some, like he said, he looks forward to being able to, not being pulled over, but to be able to form somebody. And it leads to potential to show other people how to handle. He was able to record it. It was a perfect opportunity. So that's a way to handle it. Another way is to go ahead and get the license plates, whether you let it run out, like mine's right now is just suspended, but I still keep the license plate on there so that they can run it. So the license plate can prevent you from even having that interaction. If you prefer not to have that interaction, if you prefer them just to read your plates and go about the business, go ahead and have something on there that's attached to your name. You don't have to keep on paying for a renewal registration. No, you just want it one time. And what it also does is when I put it on when I put on the injunction, I gave them, I said the name that I went on the injunction, I gave them my vehicle VIN numbers that I have at the time to be on the injunction. And I gave them my license plate number and my license plates number. I mean, my driver's license number and my license plates number. So I put all that on there so that they can put all that in the system. So that can save you from having to rehearse this all the time, because sometimes it can get a little inconvenient. You're trying to really get somewhere, and that's probably why you were speeding. And now you got to do a whole hour process with them when they could have just got behind you, ran your place, said, "Oh shit," and got up out of there.
Yeah. Do you think that if you went through the time and effort to send, and I mean, I don't know if I guess you would send all of this certified mail. I would anyway, to all of the governors from every state. Like, just send them. Go ahead and send one to every state. Be like, here you go, just in case I'm ever traveling in your state. You know, de jure, whatever government, however, or whatever municipalities you have working underneath you, these nation states or whatever. Like, don't bother me type thing, you know?
Yeah, that's what my buddy suggested. He said next time you go on vacation, you can actually send, all you got to do is just use this template to look up the wording. You search the wording in their code, in their constitution, their original state constitution. You'll find similar language that protects the same rights. So then you can put it, and then you can send that to them and let them know I'm already on here for my state. I'm letting you know that your state protects my rights too, based off of this. So I'm sending it to you. I will be traveling through your state. Same thing. I demand to be put on the do not stop there. That way I could avoid all that there too, instead of having to go through all that explaining to them.
I hear you.
I mean, to me, man, if you got a plate on, you're kind of riding the fence. Rights don't need to be written down, man. You know what I mean? I don't need to tell anybody anything about anything I'm doing, as long as I'm not committing loss, injury, or harm. Like, what is a piece of metal on the back of my property doing anyways? If you need to identify me, I was probably committing a crime anyways. Like, you know what I mean? Well, you put a piece of metal on the back of your shit and they just have a reason to fucking type it in their computer or judge you or get triggered. It's just nonsense, man. All this shit to me is nonsense, but go ahead.
Even if you did it the way, if you were riding with a private plate, you could just take a picture of that private plate, send it in with the paperwork that David's talking about to every state and be like, look here. And I just feel like that's a way to kind of, not that, I agree with you, G. I agree with you completely. I'm in the same boat, but it's like that could set you up to, go ahead and allow them to give you some money. Basically, it's like, oh, you want to give me money? I've already told you about this. I've already sent this in certified mail to your governor. I've gone through this process, and here's the number that I've already declared. So you want to just give me money, I guess. Okay, so that could be not that money is like the most important thing. It's just a tool to help us do what we need to do in life. But it's like, okay, thank you for paying me. You must just want to do that or something, And it's like a delay of like an inconvenience, like David was saying. It's like, we can just skip this whole thing, and you guys can just understand who I am, and I've already made it very clear to you in paper. And so we can just, you guys can just refrain from wasting my time, and I can continue about my business,
Yeah.
or actually not business, just my personal travel, whatever.
And because I know personally, just for my experiences, I know how harassing the police can be, especially if you have a background attached to your social security number, attached to your driver's license and your license plate. So it's how many traffic stops I've been asked for me and my kids to step out the vehicle to search us, pat us down, and search the vehicle for guns and drugs. I mean, I've been through this. Yeah, I know. But I'm saying this in the past. I'm just saying it's why I knew my rights and all that. It's been very harassing. So I know personally how many officers are uneducated. Like that officer tried to explain, even his superior on that video I watched earlier was trying to say he just knows that, he just knows what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to pull you over for this and that and that. Like they don't know nothing about commercial activity versus non-commercial activity. They don't know the language of of what this motor vehicle really means. They don't know all that. So initially, if you don't have if you don't have nothing they can run, they will pull you over. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be like that, but they will pull you over and you will have to go through the spiel. And if that's cool, then that's the way to go. Because honestly, that'll be the fish bait for them to pull you over, so you can have those conversations, you can make those videos. But if you're trying to, man, I need to be on time to pick up my son. I don't have time to be talking to this officer while I'm speeding. I'm late to pick up my son. Then it's better to have some shit that they can run, that they can figure out who you are and know not to fuck with you, or fuck with you and you can get paid. And that's the opportunity that comes along with them being able to identify who you are. We should be able to be private, you know what I'm saying? As long as they know I'm not doing nothing commercially, I can ride off. They not know who the fuck they even talking to. And that's how it should be. But in the real world, how things is going, is sometimes you have to, have shit in place to even avoid interactions with a police that might be uneducated and hot-headed and having a bad fucking day.
Hey, did you when you were driving through Utah, you said you got pulled over? Was it in Park City?
It was, I don't know where it was.
Just east of Salt Lake City, Park City, Utah, Park County.
I'm trying to, let me think of this, the name, the actual police station I went to. I think it was near Park City. I think it was near Park City,
bro.
Huh?
They're savage there. That's
what they said. The person that I talked to about Utah, about what happened, they said that where I was pulled over, they're real racist, very I like Mormon like, I think.
Yeah, well, it's right by Salt Lake. I mean, they will pull you. I've been pulled over in that town. I've been in that jail before for nothing. And I actually got caught back in the day with some weed before I really knew my rights, and it was like a surplus amount, if you will. And and so I spent a little time in that jail, nothing serious, but and I ended up getting those charges dismissed due to circumstance. But so either way, but dude, they are so. It's like I've met people throughout my time here and there, just wherever, and it's just I was like, where were you at in Utah? And everybody says the same. Park City, bro. They are just savage out there, man. They'll profile you. You have an out of state plate. If you're just driving through with an out of state plate, bro, chances are you're getting pulled over to have a conversation.
He kept acting like, we're off the books. Like you're in Utah now, buddy. It's like Illinois. I don't know what they did in Illinois.
Me and my buddy came up with this idea back in the day. We were doing some driving back and forth from California to the East Coast back in the day in 2012, 13, 14. And we kept getting pulled over in Park City, and we got busted there one time. Like, you know, we were stupid to drive through there again, but we got busted in 2015 there. And after that, we were like, yeah, this would be a really good spot to post up. And just like, you have a van and you set it up with like cameras inside of the van. And then you could
get a whole, you
could really build a formal federal suit against these cops, because look, man, hey, look, you know, it's like my whole basic thing is like, you know, I'm in agreement with the whole thing of our, you know, recognizing your status, you know, claiming yourself and claiming responsibility for yourself to be that individual who makes these actions. And then there's like this other part of it too, where it's like, just me personally, it's like, man, I kind of have like a, you know, call it what you want. It's just kind of like a personal, like, I wouldn't even call it a vendetta. You know, it's like, it's not vengeance, it's justice. You know, there's a huge difference between those two words and the motivations for each of those things. Like, I don't want vengeance, you know, I just want justice for myself and for the other men and women who are traveling through this area who have to be harassed by these police for no reason whatsoever, except they're having a vacation. They're traveling out of state, driving a rental car with out of state plates. You have to get pulled over and have a conversation with the police and be hassled. You know, like, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't violate any of even their bullshit on paper laws, which are not even applicable to me because my status is above their municipality. You know, it's like, even all of these things, it's like, I still have to deal with all of this shit. Like, fuck you. You know, it's like, I always thought it would be like a really good thing to set up like a van with cameras in it and just be driving down the road, in between the lines, you know, overuse your turn signals when you change lanes, you know, not swerving, not following too closely, going the speed limit. And just, you know, it's like, why do you keep pulling me over? Because, you know, I've been pulled over like 5 times in the past 3 days, and this, like, you know, what's this about? 15 times this week I've been pulled over, and they would do it too. They're so hot there. Me and one of my homeboys used to just talk about that, how Park City, Utah, and other places, specifically eastern Oklahoma City, those 2 places are the hottest spots in the United States last time I was out there running around. So it might just be like, you know, just something of interest. I'm just putting it into the air. Maybe I can do it, or somebody can do it one day, just to kind of.
It's a good idea. Once you get enough confidence that you're going to be all right, like, no one that's not confident is trying to set themselves up for that. But if you're confident in knowing that things will work out well, however long you have to process it, but then that definitely would be a good opportunity, because besides just videos on our end, this is what happens. These interactions can either lead to an officer going and saying, yeah, he's tried to pull that national sovereign citizen bullshit and he's still nothing happened. Or it could lead to a conversation going like this, like, man, I ran into the wrong one today, man. Yeah, he was saying this and that, and then supervisor such and such stepped in and told me not to do that next time I run into somebody saying this and that. Or, man, you know, I don't know what's going to happen to my job, man. They said that I'm being sued. I'm being personally sued, and the police station's being sued.
That's right.
Because that thing that I was joking about last month, you know what I'm saying, I was being sued for. So these are the type of, however it leads to, whether it's the conversation lead to a supervisor stepping in and just letting the rookie know, like, yeah, you might run into this some more. I'm gonna let you know how to handle this next time. Don't put yourself in,
those small pieces of reform lead to real reform, hopefully, you know, within the entire municipality. It's like, man, maybe we should back off and not just pull over every single individual with an out-of-state plate, because, you know, that just costs us a lot of money. Or they're going to come more aggressively at the other individuals who are, but, you know, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, if you pull over somebody, it's like, even if they were to, you know, you sue them and you get, you know, their sheriff, you know, even if you could get to the point to where you could have these officers jailed, which is like the real step, you know, where it's like, you are violating me as an individual, as a living man, you are violating and trespassing upon me in violation of the rights under the Constitution that are provided for the people of the United States of America. Whether I even like to classify myself as that or not, I'm entitled to those rights should I choose to feel that that's like a benefit for me, or if not, then not. It doesn't matter, because my status as an individual is beyond you and your charade that you like to call that is basically just a corporation. Like, I'm not a slave to your corporation, so you don't have this type of authority. And so it's like, even if they were, you could get to the point to where you could enact some real change, and they started to be even more harassing of the other individuals, on the road. That would be like worst case scenario, but best case scenario is that you could have some reform come, that you could have some that these municipalities would be like, damn, we just our sheriff just is now a resident at the local county jail, and so are these other officers. It's like,
even if they don't get locked up, just the fact that they get sued,
right.
It leads to more conversation. That's all it needs. How many people will a small town that anything that happens with any officer, any pullover, becomes like the whole talk of the boys' locker room?
You already
imagine that needed to not just this department, but now this department sharing it with another officer from another department. You know what happened to so and so when he pulled that national? It leads to the conversations. So it's not just us educating one officer at a time. We're educating officers, because it spreads.
Dave, let me ask you something. As a super skeptic, I'm a skeptic. We've been talking about this for months and months. You were telling me about this, and then just by the miracle of God, I'm on the phone with you, and I actually witnessed you talking to the officer and the officer releasing you. I seen this all unfold. Heard it all unfold on the phone while we were talking, but yet I still am skeptical, and I'm still, I don't know if it's fear or what it is. Maybe it's
you've been mind and heart controlled, man. You got to understand that everyone's come into this place and for the last however many years has been told the same fucking thing every day, all day for decades. It's literally like undoing mind and heart control.
Yeah, it becomes subconscious too. Like my
Bro,
girl
if
the
I
other
put
day,
you in a cage, just real quick, I just want to make the allegory. If I put you in a cage and every day told you what you were, at some point you would start believing it and repeating it. If I said every day, you're a pig, you're a pig, you're a pig, you'd start oinking on 4 legs at some point. Till I had to remind you, hey, bro, do you remember what it was like before they told you were a pig and you started oinking? And you go, I don't know. And then we just keep talking. And at some point you go, holy shit, I'm starting to remember the reality before the non-reality, right?
Yeah. That whole lion that was mixed in with the chickens or whatever. And they found out he was a lion. It's subconscious, because even after telling you what I've experienced, the wins, because even the whole getting arrested and no charges filed and let out right away, that was a win. After hearing about these wins, you would think that I'm always secure in my vehicle, like I should be, like it says in the Constitution. But I still get the whole rush when I see an officer. You know what I'm saying? Still I naturally check my my speedometer, heart get the pounder. I'm putting weed out, getting ready. You know what I'm saying?
You're saying like me, you can't even believe your own results walking with this path with God and trust and equity and faith. Man, you can't believe what you're doing, not only what you're seeing.
It's subconscious, because we've been taught that stuff is too good to be true, that this is the way you're supposed to be treated. This is how it just is, whether you feel like you should be treated like that or not. It's just the way it is, and always be on the lookout for that. And it's subconscious now. So undoing this, and it's not just legally. It's supposed to be as within, as without, as above, as below. It's supposed to be a spiritual side of this coin, which is you learn your worthiness, and you learn that you really have rights, and you really are somebody that is not up underneath another man or a woman, or or under some type of a metaphorical officer, judge, state's attorney hanging over you, telling you don't do this, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like the kid that feels like he's always around his daddy or something like that. He needs to be in line, you know, getting that shit out of our head, getting that voice out of our head that's become subconscious. It sounds like us, but it's what we've been told from 5 years old. Hey, don't, if the officer tell you, you better listen to that, whatever the officer says. Don't get shot. Don't let me have to go to your funeral. This is what you better do.
Bro,
you know?
this is levels of the same. We're making concentric circles. I remember back in 5th and 6th grade where they used to tell me, just do everything mommy and daddy says, and the teachers, don't go your own way. And I didn't listen to that. It's the same thing over and over again. I go, I'm going to continue to do whatever my crazy, because then you always get gaslit, right? Whether it's your mommy and daddy, the teachers, the system. Paulie's one of the crazy ones who doesn't want to do what everyone else says we have to do. Yeah, I want an authentic life. Forgive me.
Put him in detention.
Right. So then at some point during this process, you stop giving a fuck about what they say about you and what they're going to do to you. You only care about living up to your standard and your moral compass and what we call a godly experience. That's all. Because again, this is the thing. Most of these regular folks, I like to joke, the white people, most of these regular middle class folks, they've been doing the right thing all their life. So they thought. Going to school, getting the grades, listening to everybody, joining the corporation, rising, making their money, not money. They did everything the right way, they thought, till they realized one day they're a coward and a fucking slave, and they have little to no power other than to be a pawn in the system. That's when they come to me. That's when the spirit brings them to me and folks like me to remind them, hey, bro, you were just convinced of this reality. It's not only not real. You think I'm crazy because I'm living in the real reality. You're living in the projection, the matrix that they've birthed you into, right? We're back to the Matrix movie. Once you get the red pill, you can see the ones and the zeros and the codes in the program. I don't need to go to the Oracle anymore. And the Oracle can tell me I ain't the one. I already know I'm the one because I'm in alignment and I can see and understand and I get results. So it's like firsthand experience of a godly experience trumps all other written accounts and projections and perceptions. And that's the one thing that this system cannot stand up against. This is not a coincidence. You're in a simulation. God is real. It's just not nameable. You can't know it, but you can be it or be with it, like the Tao has written down, right? And when we walk with this, it's unstoppable, man. Again, what happens when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force?
Yeah,
energy's created.
When you realize you're one with the one. That all that there is, that there's only one, then you stop looking at it like the way that we've been taught to look at it, like there's us and then there's something other than us that's better than us, that's perfect, we're imperfect, we're not that good, we're not worth it, that is worth it. And it's like this dualistic effect of seeing, never feeling good enough or worthy enough in the presence of something outside of us, not us, but outside of us that is. And being judged by that because we're standing up against that. So that's how the way we've been taught to look at things. And that just makes it very difficult to receive any information that makes it feel like you're really equal, you're really worthy, you're really, divine. But when you start looking at things as being one, that whatever we call omnipresent, which means all present everywhere, is so good, it's so raw that it's everywhere existing at once. There's no past, future, there's no other. It is just everywhere and everything at once. That includes all of us. That means we're one with it.
This is how you. Go ahead.
If it deserves to travel from point A to point B and being left the fuck alone by itself, then we deserve to travel from point A to point B without being left the fuck alone, without bothering ourselves, because we start receiving the oneness of everything. And I think that's where it goes from just this information being a good conversation to where you start really having a better experiences. Whether those better experiences are successful interactions with the police, or whether those better experiences, I don't even track the police. I feel like my buddy was joking about an invisibility spell. I feel like I'm invisible to the police now, So it's like you start believing that you deserve to do and to be as you are, and not be bothered. You're not doing nothing wrong, and there's not something.
Yeah, it's an empowered position rather than a disempowered position. The default position in this culture and society that most occupy is a disempowered position. That's what makes it all move forward, or allows it to not move forward, but seem like there's progression. Right? Is the acceptance of a disempowered position. That is the mind control cult. That's why the root word is cult and culture, because you're brought into a situation where the default space is a disempowered position. That's what allows the culture to continue to exist, is the fact that all of its inhabitants are supremely disempowered. You know?
Yeah, and this is a baseline position. This is a starting point position. This don't even make you exceptional to adopt these ideas. Like it does in these times, it would appear like the way people are bitch ass slaves, but this is just baseline human rights shit. Like we can flourish so far beyond
out how to invest your money. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is basic to some people, you know, like this is like figuring out how to invest your money or catching up to being what we call a dolphin, you know. But like I said, it could be used for something greater, which is your spiritual growth. So everything you're going through in this plane,
right? That's the whole thing.
That's you can use it to access more of who you identity with who you really are, to really appreciate your divinity and your oneness. And then you start to do some matrix shit, like bend the spoon. I didn't bend the spoon, I am the spoon type shit. You know what I'm saying? You become the fucking officer. You see what I'm saying? You have a good interaction because you don't see a me and them, me versus them. They're on the dark side, I'm on the light side. No, I can have a smooth interaction because I'm interacting with myself. I'm just giving myself an opportunity to educate myself, you know. And then you start to actually be divine. You actually start to show love, not just inform and educate, but you show them who they are. You reflect to them, and that was a smoothness. I like how that video ended because the officer in the end was cool with him. He had bonded. You know, he felt connected. We can go get some coffee. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I want to learn more. He asked random questions. He could have hurried up and wrapped the shit up and went about his day. But he asking extra shit, you know what I'm saying? And sounded
it's called courting for a reason, right? This is why I get into the pimping thing, tongue in cheek. It's the same way like dealing with a woman. If you deal with the courts as a man, at some point they're going to reflect back to you a man. If you deal with a woman as a man, at some point she's going to reflect back to you for you living as a man, right? If you live like a child and a bitch, you're going to get that reflected back to you in both courting situations, right? So you got to give to get. That's what equity is. If you want to be treated like a man, you got to live like one and act like one and be one in order to reflect that back. If you don't, well, then don't expect to have that experience. Expect to be somebody else's property.
Yeah. Did you see? You got to see.
And that's what the 14th Amendment actually means.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say.
No, I was just going to say that's what the 14th Amendment citizen is. It actually says in the law that it's in their codes and shit that the United States citizen is actually the government's property. So, but I want to hear what you had to say.
Oh, you were talking about the oneness. I was like talking to officers and stuff. I was going to point out that Brian did that the other day in this video. I don't know if you saw that interaction. He's got it in a clip. Paul's got it in a clip, but yeah, he really brought those officers back to themselves and to the oneness. And you could see the look on their face. They just, something hit them, you know, and they're like looking left and right. They're like, they didn't know what to do because it really hit their soul. He brought them down to a base level and got them to know that, you know, we're all one. This is all, we're all on the same fucking ship. We're all in the same boat, man. We're all brothers.
They had to check in with each other. They had to check in with, that was that human moment, right? It was like if you put a gun in someone's face, when they come to take your shit, you put a gun in their face, they go, what are we doing here again, fellas? You speak that word of God and the truth, it's equivalent to pulling a pistol on them. They start checking in with themselves and each other about their humanity, and that's exactly what the fuck we're all doing here.
Yeah. They felt it, and they felt it mutually, and that's what that check-in was. They felt it mutually that what you were saying, and not just what you were saying, but what you were vibrating. It resonated with them. You know, and that's power position.
That's all it amounts to. Again, you could tell by listening to him and watching him, to boil it all down, he was in an empowered position. They're so used to, like I said before, dealing with the average citizen from a disempowered position that when they meet someone who's empowered, they're not quite sure where to go with it. It's not something they usually encounter, right?
And that's something that needs to be explained without having to go too deep, to explain to somebody that anyone is teaching this stuff to or trying to navigate them to. You got to explain to them that their energy means everything. So, I mean, you can't just expect them to be super confident in the beginning, but if they at least try to, because I have, and I think you have too, but I think you admitted that towards the end, you was like, I was still nervous. You know, it didn't look like it, but I was still nervous. I think we've all had tried some shit nervous, like stood up before a crowd nervous, and still did it though, and still functioned. They have to come off like, because what was told to me, probably y'all heard this too. You got to come off like you know what the fuck you're saying is true. You know, whether you believe it or not, you have to come off like that. If you're gonna, you know, go ahead and go engage this person, you gotta act like what you're saying is true. So they respond to the look as if you don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying some shit that a buddy told you in passing. If you ever get pulled over, try to say this, but you don't really know nothing behind it, what it means or nothing. Because I have a buddy that I have helped with paperwork and everything, but he still has trouble really asserting or understanding enough to paraphrase what's going on. You know, so he's had some bumpy experiences, you know, and it's turned out well in the long run because the paperwork is still that effective, but he's still him still kind of half-heartedly not really knowing if this is legit. Like he's kind of played with it when he had to, but got some negative. He reflected back. They could tell you, they could read you, but you on that video, you, regardless of how you felt underneath your skin, if your heart was pumping or not, or you were praying or whatever, you sounded like you came off like you really believed. You knew what you were saying and you really believed it. It just wasn't on that paper. You really,
it's just complete surrender to God's purpose is all it is. Your body, of course, is always going to be a bit sort of trepidatious in the sense that it's, you know, like the Tao is written there, all men and women tremble before violence, right? So none of us want to have to be involved in conflict, chaos, controversy, violence. Ultimately, when you surrender and submit to God's purpose, it mitigates the effect on your body and more importantly on your mind and heart and spirit to complete the mission, right? So that's all I chalk that up to, is that was an example of me being completely in alignment with the universe and my purpose in that moment, and there was no other way that interaction could have gone. It's just that is the definition of all the universe is mind and mental. I can't create a universe outside of the one we're in. I can allow the universe to work around me in a sense and it become malleable. That is an art and an understanding that it's almost, for me so far, is almost impossible to completely logically accept or to get a handle on and not fumble the ball at times, right? Again, I just equate this to Frodo and the Ring of Power. You know, like when you're in alignment and pure of heart, shit's going to work out no matter how it looks. You start to put that ring of power on. Again, like I said before, it's paradoxical. You're in an empowered position. But if you wear that ring of power too long or you do it in a certain way, you start to lose yourself. You start to lose a grasp, right? So like the pure-hearted intention, just surrendering to that, following through with that, and not having no extras on it, to me, is the state of consciousness that gets everything done without doing anything. You know, it is that sort of Taoist space of just complete faith and imagining the outcome and living into that, and not accepting any less, but not being in resistance and challenging and not looking for controversy. You know, it's just complete alignment.
You know those moments where they go back to the vehicle to run or write something, look something up. You know, those moments, actually taking time to close your eyes and visualize, like block the situation out for a second and visualize them handle your credentials. Say, okay, you go about your coming back, however you want it to pan out. Actually visualize that actually has helped. I don't know how many times I, you know, handed my credentials, made a quick explanation who I was, you know, so that they can go ahead and take me seriously and look me up for real. And I just use that time between them coming back to just visualize them handing my stuff back to me, saying, "Oh, have a good day," or "Sorry to buy," whatever. I don't know how many times it actually plays out like that. And I actually thought about that from that one time that it didn't pan out like that. It's that first time ever being arrested in 5 years, about 4 years, 4 or 5 years since I've been on this do not detain list. The only time that has been violated past them looking me up is even then, I think back, I said the only thing that was previous to that was her question of what would happen if you ran into a hard-headed police officer, stubborn police officer, didn't want to honor it, and I never actually applied that visualizer technique at that time. So I will say it is that powerful. You got to be able to see it. You ain't got to do it now because that's setting yourself up for a pullover. You ain't got, but if you ever in a situation, actually take that little time instead of looking in that rear view mirror, actually take
David,
that time to close your eyes to visualize,
David,
how.
I got a question.
Mhm.
David, when you were arrested for that gun possession, were you under that do not detain list, or was that after that?
No, because it would have went totally differently. I got on the do not detain list after that. Remember, I was actually fighting that case on that do not detain list, and because I was on that do not detain list, it had went from 11 charges and 3 cases down to 1 charge, and I took that. I took that instead of going to trial. I could have probably continued, because I seen the state attorney sweating it. They're sending me shit. We don't see you on as having a FOID card, or they're sending me shit, trying to talk me in. They're listening to my phone conversation between me and my mom, try to suppress me emotions, saying that you can't use
That's when
this
you
and
know
use
you
that based
have
off
them.
what
If
they
they're
heard me
reducing
tell my
everything, that's when
mom
you
how
know
it
you
was my
have them.
defense. So I could tell, yeah, I have. Man, that thing saved me so much time. But I ended up just taking it. But this how I knew it would have went differently because of I just told you so many times I didn't get pulled over once they ran the plate, or they looked me up on my credentials and let me go. And I would have had my rights. That would have been my assertion. Like he said, I forgot about that part. It is not just do not detain, stop, search, or interrogate, but it also does say lifetime carry. Well, how you said it, lifetime carry,
Concealed carry
or
permit. Yeah,
whatever.
even though you
You know
don't
what
get the
I'm talking about?
permit. It's so that they don't try to lock you up
That's
for
what.
guns because you got rights.
Yes. So I forgot that that's the other thing they said that's in there when it runs. So
That's
that would have
powerful.
went totally different. Because see, I had got pulled over a situation where my rights should have been protected. This is the type of reasons why you should have rights like this. Where some kids in my family, my little cousins, from 5 years old to 16 was the oldest. 5 kids having troubles with some gang members down the street, lit a firework in the direction, they get startled, they think somebody's shooting at them, and then they find out some kids, they still want to act threatening with these guns. So we raced over there. I wasn't taught to call police. So we raced over to get the girls, no intention of doing harm, just trying to get the girls out safely. But we have what we have, like we're supposed to, just for protection. They got guns, you should be able to have a gun. Other people got guns. Should nobody be saying, hey, I should be able to have a gun, but you shouldn't. What type of shit is that? You wouldn't go on a paintball field. Somebody told I'm gonna have a gun. You can't have a gun, but you gotta be on this field with me. Hell no. That's the setup right there. That's trickery right there. That's the devil. But
well, we know in Rome that slaves weren't entitled to have swords.
You see what I'm saying? See, back in the day, what they used to do is when you got locked up with a gun, even if the crime was gun related, whatever, they would take your gun for as long as you were locked up, and then you would have your gun returned when you got out, because there was nothing in the original legislation for felons. That wasn't a thing. The nation hasn't been alive long enough to have felons, so it was you had a right to bear arms. You see what I'm saying? So as long as you were walking out here, you had a level playing field. So, but anyways, back to what I was saying. If I had my gun, so the kid, we go rescue the kids anyways. Tell the guys up the block, don't do that shit no more. You know, don't fuck around. They can see we got guns, so they put their hands up and say, "Hey, my bad. We apologize." Everything was smoothed out. Everybody go about the business. The police were coming because of them, and never got called the police on them, seeing them outside with guns when they were doing that. So they thought we were them pulling off and arrested us. And we didn't say nothing. We didn't explain. I didn't feel like I had to explain what the fuck happened. You know, they just caught what they call felons with possession of weapons, you know, and then went on and created a whole bunch of shit by snatching me out of my vehicle and tasing me. He hurt his pinky finger. So then they said I assaulted the officer because he hurt his pinky finger tasing me. So there's all types of crazy shit. But none of that, all that would have been avoided if they had just ran me at some point, whether it's license plate or the credentials, they had just ran me. And I would have avoided all that, doing all that time, everything. This is what the thing.
This is just proof, sir. This is just proof that these cops are not trained, and I believe this is purposeful to do corporate takeover. They will then sit there and say, I bet the judge isn't going to agree with that. And I guess they're wrong because I keep going and getting dismissals with everyone else, proving that they're mistrained and they're interfering with rights. But it doesn't change the day-to-day functionary of the system, the way this thing or these people, whoever, whatever it is, an aspect of us, it creates it to be, right? So it's like when you go to court, it's very different, the facts of the matter and the idea, the foundations versus on the side of the road. This is what people can't square. Like Slow State, he goes, the people with guns will come and get you. Yeah, they will. And then we're going to go to court and I'm going to put the facts on record and I'm going to ask why they didn't do their due diligence. And I'm going to ask for a proper charging instrument. And I'm going to ask to face my accuser. And I'm going to do a whole bunch of things that are going to prove that I'm not a dumbed down fucking slave that doesn't know the law. And they're going to say, get the fuck out of this kid's way. You know, Paulie Walnuts has something here. We're back to my cousin Vinny. You know, I don't need to sound a certain way or use certain words or dress a certain way to get down to the facts of the matter and who and what we all are and aren't. And if you don't know that, they're going to get you every time. They're just going to ask you questions and get you to answer and repeat their crap they taught you at the public fool system. Once you do that, they got you. You're a member of their society.
You're going to cooperate with them. And that's the whole thing. They actually say that they're taking it as our consent to what they're doing and then putting ourselves in their jurisdiction by cooperating with them. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it is, because we don't either learn two things. It's not either cooperating or being aggressively not cooperating. No, you don't have to cooperate, but you can still be a gentleman.
I can't cooperate with their constructive fraud because it makes me, in fact, doing something unlawful. U.S. Code outlines that all of their legal processes with these instruments are constructive fraud. That's the U.S. Code's definition, not mine. So by virtue of the fact of that, even if you want to go to U.S. corporation or the law of the land, I'm committing a crime because I'm contending I am something I am not. I'm contending the law is something it's not. See, ignorance of the law is no excuse, and knowledge of the law makes it such that complying with the system makes me complicit in a constructive fraud. I will not do that. Now, this is what allows the rest of you to be seen as incompetent, and then they just slave you because they go, this dummy doesn't even know that we just summoned the person. They're showing up as the all caps. They're never going to admit that this is anything but sob, sit, mumbo, jumbo. Once you show that you think you are the estate, the etheric state, the electronic state, however you want to consider it to be, that all caps name, they know you don't know who and what you are. They know you don't know the law. They know you're not competent, legally or lawfully. They know you're not competent in your affairs. So they're going to manage your property and your estate and everything that extends off of you. You know, it's just, again, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yeah. And that's why I don't know if y'all have discussed this already, or y'all might be aware of this already, but you know, we're supposed to go back to show ourselves competent as of the age of majority. I think it's 21, I think it was. we were supposed to go back, authenticate those birth certificates, and to put the trust in our name. So that's a trust, right? They've established a trust, and that's supposed to be ours. Like
I'll give you one better. If you go to the birth certificate and the social security card, somewhere on there, it used to say, I could pull it up on Google, it says, do not use these documents as identification. Everyone then went and took the social security card and the birth certificate down to a Department of Motor Vehicle, a subsidiary corporation, and used it as identification. So you created a joinder between your beingness and those papers when it told you right on there not to do it. It said, put it away, do not use as identification. Once you use it and create an account with some organization using that paperwork, you've now created a joinder. And they're going to summon that beingness as you because you applied and begged for services and said that was you. They're going to hit you with the Talcott. That's you. Says right here, it reads right here. You brought it down. You said you're it. You gave it to them people to create a beingness off of that number because you wanted the benefits and privileges because you didn't know your rights and the law.
Yeah, they can't ask for your social security. That's a felony, right?
Well, yeah, that's the point. You're involved in a constructive. You took documents and said, "This is me."
Yep.
Yeah.
What?
You're a US
Then you
citizen,
wonder
you're
why
a
everyone's
fucking
deemed
felon.
non-compos mentis, incompetent at court, and presumed to be a wrongdoer. They talk to you like you're a slave and a piece of garbage, just like I do. Because I go, you don't know who and what you are. You don't know God. You need a padded cell, most likely, based on the last 4 years. You think I'm going to listen to 3 words you're going to say if you don't invoke common law, common sense, or the living God and the truth? No, I think you're an insane person, and I'm going to start managing this room and this court and indirectly your etheric state because I'm going to throw you the fuck out because I'm going to put you in the back because I'm going to tell you you're a slave. I'm going to convict you.
I'm not a U.S. citizen. That's how easy it is for you to get away from the legal law society. You just say, I'm not a U.S. citizen. You know, like I did. I just went and got a passport, and I said no.
It's a non-resident foreign national. Are you a member of anything Colombian? It's a District of Columbia. Are you a Colombian? Are you part of that? No.
Exactly.
Where's the residency? Where's the District of Columbia located? Off the coast of the East Coast? Are you a resident of that? Do you reside there? Are you a residual component of that? So if you claim that you're a U.S. citizen, you just did it again. You don't live over there. You don't live in that 10 square mile where nobody lives that they call District of Columbia. You're not a Colombian. Why are you all saying you are? Because they taught you to say something in dishonor and bad faith and to attach yourself to a metaphysical state of consciousness where you are fallen and duped the fuck out and deceived. That's the devil. And just by you repeating it, you think it's right. It's absolutely wrong. And when you repeat it, everyone who knows what's going on says, man, you're a fucking dunce. You want me to pull it up right here? There's my phone. It's on the background of my phone to always remind me. Location of the debtor, 9307. Location of the debtor, United States, District of Columbia. Go fucking look at it. It's Cornell University. It's U.S. code. If you're not a resident of United States, which no one can actually be, why are you calling yourself a resident of that? And the subsidiary corporations, the state ofs that extend off of that, who are now running around saying they're not part of that. As the man said, as my video shows, we're local and state municipality. We do whatever we want. We don't even follow United States Corporation and Code, even though we're all voting for the president. Huh? What?
Yeah.
These people don't even know who and what they are, what planet they're on, what shape it is, where they are. They don't know anything, seemingly. And they just keep repeating shit.
That's why I stopped. I noticed earlier in that pullover that you were trying to teach them about the words and their definitions, and how you were explaining how sometimes the common definition or understanding of a word is different than the legal definition. And that's how they tricked a lot of people, because citizen, the legal definition means employee, and the all capital United States, not the United States of America, but the all capital United States is a corporation. And that corporation has employees. United States citizen means you're an employee. If you ever check off to that, it means you're an employee of the United States corporation. So
Right.
that's where the wages you waiver. I'll explain it to them earlier how my dad, when it became legal in Illinois to smoke marijuana, my dad still was under contract with his employer that he would not smoke marijuana, and he could be subjected to consequences if he did. And you contract away your rights with a corporation as an employee, and that's where the whole waiving rights as a 14th Amendment United States citizen, saying that this is what they did for post-slavery, for people who were freed slaves but weren't considered Americans from the beginning or whatever. Now we're going to make 14th Amendment citizens, where you're employees of a corporation with certain benefits and privileges, but in exchange of your rights, you have to do what we say you could do, and not.
Right. Again, there's slaves in chat who they're in cognitive dissonance. You're breaking up there a little bit, but they refuse to go to the U.S. Code and see that U.S. Code 1A, United States, is defined as a corporation. They refuse to go to the U.S. Code where it says this is a foreign corporation on D.C., a District of Columbia, that isn't even part of the Union of States. They completely misunderstand that the wool's been pulled over their eyes. They've been inserted into an artificial reality and deceived. It's not possible for you to be an actual part of United States. It's a conceptualization, and it's a corporation as defined, right? So you claiming you owe allegiance to that makes you insane, because it doesn't actually exist. What does exist is men and women on the land with God-given rights from the beginning of time, using their conscience to govern themselves of and by and for the people under God. The Constitution codifies that understanding and that experience in order to, and theoretically, protect that experience. What did they do? Amended it to pervert that experience and convinced you all you're in and a part of something that isn't even possible to experience. You can't point to it. You can't prove it. If you try to point to it and how it's defined, it proves the opposite. That is the insanity. That is proof of the insanity of humans. And they would rather, like Slackcott and others, they would rather accept a hallucination to get $300 a month than to finally out themselves and align with the universe and come into a rich spirit and potentially something that's going to file into their pockets too. They're so desperate for. This is the foolishness of the slave. The slave can't figure out how Paulie and others have valuability in their life because they've completely detached and disconnected from the hallucination and gotten lined with life on life's terms. So your 300 you still beg for and get by living in disalignment is actually tricking you out of your truest power and position, but you're so disconnected from how the universe works, you don't even believe that's possible. This is how, and then these folks talk metaphysics and mind science and true love and care. You have no idea about manifestation, how it works. The second you just give everything, it's the pittance. You're such a broke hoe that 300 means something a month to you. It's a pittance. If you gave that up to live in alignment with the ultimate truth and universal law, your life would change immediately. But you're too fucking fearful to do it because of what you're living in lack over, what you think you're going to miss out on. You know how many times I've given up 10 times that a month and then been shown that it was for my benefit because I kept my integrity and my spirit intact, and then I was rewarded on another end with value? You guys just don't see how this whole fucking experience is one big test and challenge and game. And you never rise beyond a certain point because you never get alignment with life on life's terms and what is. You stay in disalignment with your beliefs and foolishness. I would know because I know me. I don't need to point outside to know me and then to understand as within, so without, as above, so below. You rise or fall for obvious reasons: conscious and awareness, integration with higher self, alignment with the universe, or the lack thereof. Freemason. You have no idea what a Freemason is. No, I'm not a Freemason. I've never been. I've entertained going in order to infiltrate. Guess what? I didn't have to. I put the intention out there. I got a job at a warehouse, and guess who ran the warehouse? A 32nd degree Freemason who's about to become 33rd degree. And I learned all I needed to learn about those people, that most of them are incompetent and incapable. They come from the same houses as everyone else. They come from the same public fool systems. They may have a little bit more of an esoteric divulgence they've been given on how this universe works, but the majority of them are still kept in the dark and fed bullshit, just like mushrooms. You wouldn't be a part of a fraternal order if you weren't a group consciousness slave. The true lover of wisdom never finds himself in groups. Beyond the group that is brought forth by the universe and universal purpose, like we are here today. I'm not in a group here today. This is a group of people brought forth by the same reflective purpose. That has nothing to do with, it does, but see, while I'm saying that, it's still the same law, but on the opposite side. The Masons are all brought together for a physical worldly purpose. The origination of Freemasons was to do the great work, what we're doing here today and doing in our lives. What does it always become? The corruption of the word and the original truth and value and meaning and power and purpose. So again, that gives rise to dark Masonry. You dumb slaves have no idea what the fuck you even say, and the difference between true Freemasonry and how it's universal. That's why the G is the grand architect, because it's getting in alignment with everything I'm talking about. Then you want to equate true Freemasonry, which is true Christed consciousness, which is true one-selfism, unification with life on life's terms, with dark Masonry, which is just another aspect of the darker, reflective, shadow, corrupted self. And again, you have to integrate one in order to do the other. If you don't reconcile and integrate your shadow, it will take you down while you attempt to claim to do the great work. Go ask Mr. Slackcott. Go ask me at certain times when I'm not in complete alignment and focus. I don't have to go outside of me to understand me. You could argue that's necessary on this path. The test, the challenge, and darknesses are what keep us aligned, and regret is our guideline. We shouldn't have done that. Okay, let's do this. Continue to build. So we're all Freemasons here. We're all pursuing freedom. We're all spiritually incarnating here by the grand architect, and we're all building a future for ourselves and each other. By definition, we're honorary Freemasons. Does that mean we have to have symbols and signs and books and garbage and do fraternity? No, that demeans and devalues our purpose here. I don't do none of that. And I don't need to call it that, but I can correlate to that. Because it's all one and the same experience. You guys constantly see division and separation. That's how you know you're in lacking consciousness and awareness. When you see separation and division. When you start to see holistically, you start to see unification and connection everywhere in all things. That's when you're in the presence of God. That's when you know you got an accurate mapping of yourself in the world. So you should probably shoot for that and stop talking. See? Because if you ain't got that, you're always going to be deceived. You're always going to miscall the shot, mistake what's going on for something else. You're always going to project onto what's actually happening, what you want or don't want it to be, what you're afraid of, right? Because you haven't integrated into what is. You haven't met life on life's terms. Know your enemy will cease to be your enemy. Freemasons ain't you folks' enemy. They've given you motherfuckers everything you enjoy all day, every day. Your banking system, your fucking benefits and privileges, your products and services. They've given you pathetic, needy, parasitic slaves, everything you fucking survive off of and claim to thrive off of. And then you want to down them and shit on them because they've created a worldly place of governance for all you slaves who won't walk the path and do the great work. Who's the asshole? Who's the slave? Who's the moron? Who's the kept dumbass? Who's the deviant? Who's devalued? Who's demeaned? Who has lack of meaning and purpose and understanding? Hello. They know what they're doing. They know how to give you everything you desire and crave for to keep you in the slave system. They know how to expose you for what the fuck you serve, the devil. So why are you crying and complaining? They just got you pimped better than you can control yourself. Don't hate the players, hate the game. Don't hate nothing. Just choose true love and true care. The first word is true. Start to understand life on life's terms by understanding yourself and all ourselves here and what's actually going on. Not what you want or don't want to believe is going on here. And no, I'm not an apologist for this system. I just understand universally everything is as it should be. It's perfect in its imperfection. This wouldn't exist if you slaves didn't need this test right now. This would not exist. All of us. It would not exist in the dynamic that exists if we didn't all need to put on record right now who and what we are and what we're not. Sorry. You don't like that? You don't like the way the grand architect put together this soap opera perfectly for us all to experience right now, individually and together? Micro and macro? Are you sick in the head? Are you that disintegrated? It's beautiful in its ugliness. It's going to make a man and a woman out of every one of us. It's going to reveal the lack of man and woman in every one of us.
Hey,
the
Paul,
fuck is the point of resisting that or fighting that when it's so fucking majestic and co-creative and and revealing and inspiring and all the things if you let it be. Go
Hey,
ahead,
Paul,
sir.
I was in a court recently, as I was telling you just the other day, and they do this thing and I've noticed this in federal court. I haven't heard them do it in state court, but basically I allowed a attorney to not represent me, but to be a stand-in counsel, mostly like I was telling you, to help me do secretarial work from the inside, as we all know how difficult that can be. And it was something that these attorneys were saying. They said the judge can't hear you, like, because I was trying to speak on my own behalf, and to going back to what you were talking about, it's like every human being trembles before violence. It was like one of those experiences where I haven't actually felt that in a while. At that capacity, I was standing before a federal court judge, presenting myself and speaking on my own behalf. My first time in federal court, it was like one of those feelings, like, whoa, like this is a big deal here. And there's so much violence in that room. It's just dry, the energy is so dry. And they kept telling me, my attorney kept telling me, the judge can't hear you. And I said, what the fuck are you talking about? He can't hear me. I'm speaking, And they said, yeah, but it confuses him because I'm here. And that's when I started to put things together. And I was, I wanted to dismiss my attorney altogether. I'm like, well,
it's like in kind. You can't intercourse with something unless it's like in kind. If you attempt to try to speak to the administrator directly, you have to call him out of his administrator capacity if you want the common law and the law of man to be upheld. If you do not call him out of that capacity and speak to him as John Jones, as you being John Smith, or whatever the case may be, it's going to be presumed you are attempting to talk as one of them, an actor. They're called state actors for a reason.
Well, doesn't that
and
make
they're wondering why the fuck you would want to get in the ring and put a mask on and try to act in a play they've been playing out for the last 30 years. You'd have to be insane.
Sure.
And I agree with them.
I hear you. I agree with them too. But does that not in a way make the court itself incompetent?
Incompetent in what? To who?
Incompetent in their ability
How?
To communicate this thing that they've built on their own behalf.
They're what do you think that they're determining essentially? Because I have my own belief, I guess. I can't prove any of this really, but I have my own belief of what they're determining. Like it's levels to, it's the same thing I do here, oddly enough, because we're all having a human experience. I'm making judgments or discernments on people's character all day, every day here. I'm going, how eccentric are you? How insane are you? How delusional are you? How in denial are you? How disempowered are you? How slavish are you? How much are you going to harm yourself or others? We're all doing that all day, every day and acting like we're not. They're doing the same thing there, essentially.
Yeah. I hear you.
If they got no one on the other side, it's a game to them. Hey, come on up. We're going to call it this person that doesn't exist and see what you got to say and never admit to what we're actually doing.
So once you are overstanding the court, though, that's what I'm saying. Are you not dealing with something that's incompetent at that point? Is the court not incompetent itself?
They've set up a game, essentially. It's a corporate endeavor. They have dual jurisdiction because they're a human. They've lived long enough as a man or woman to make a capable judgment and discernment, as have I, on your credibility and different aspects of who and what you are and what you're doing. It's a great game if you let it be, and they make money doing it. You're saying, are they incompetent in who, for what? They're there to make money. They're there to make discernments and judgments. They're there to hold court. What I'm doing here on some level every day. What is the difference between my experience here and an administrator's at court, other than what you all believe? What's the difference? You all convict yourselves when you come in here one way or the other. You all attempt to interact with me from a certain persona at times that I play up or put on an aspect of self, if you will. Because that's all acting is tapping into different aspects of self. Then you try to interact with that like that, and I go, gotcha. You were supposed to come in here and put on record how you're godly, how you walk a certain way, show your fruit and your worth, put it on record for everyone, and walk the fuck out. And then have me ask for more. And 99% of people can't get that done. So it winds up the same way every time. What is the difference between what I do here in my little corner of YouTube all day, every day, and what a court is doing? Values coming in, values going out. We're having interactions. Judgments and discernments are being made. Credit is being put on the record. Credibility is being taken off the record based on what everybody's saying and doing. It's a great game and experience if you let it be. I can't find the seam there. If you can look and actually see, you will understand. If you look and see what you choose to see or what you're taught to see, you will not understand. So if anyone here can find the line and the seam other than that, they have a costume that they put on every day, little dress or Pee Wee Herman's outfit, and a piece of paper that says, I'm a judge. I can go print that up. I can go have my associates and my society here print that up and hand me a costume and say, Paulie's an honorary judge, discerner now.
Sure. Well, there's a sentencing process in court if you play
the only thing that's different is that at some point potentially someone's going to go sign this piece of paper, we're walking you to the back, you're going to go sit in a box with God for a bit.
Sure.
That might be the one thing I need here that I won't employ to take you motherfuckers to the next level. I can't get into that karmically, right?
Why
but
not?
That might be the one thing they can karmically do that actually takes everyone to the next level. They actually have it, and then what? To what they're doing and saying, oh, you don't want to align with God? You don't want to do what's true and what's right? You want to be an asylum creature? We're going to sit in a box now. I'll sit in there with you. Doesn't bother me none.
Why would you say that, Paul? Why would you say, why don't you have your box? What karmic? Just explain that to me.
Well, I could do it if I could do it legally and lawfully if I just did what they all did, which I do it in my own way here, but not to that degree. If I just wrote up paperwork and said, here, go ahead, sign here when you come in and out. And in that paperwork somewhere through the language, whether you understand it or not, you just agree to lock yourself up. So at the conclusion, I go, oh, by the way, you got to come with me now. You're like Fleischer. You got to stay with me now. Why? Well, because you just did and said a whole bunch of stuff. You don't know who the fuck you are and what you just did, but you just agreed to lock yourself up in 10 different ways because you don't know who and what you are, where you're at, and what's going on any level. Just like mandate, just like the mask, just like all the rest of it. What's the difference? I don't see any difference. You're imprisoned either way through your lack of knowledge and understanding. You can't have any forward movement. You're not able to succeed beyond a certain point. You're already in prison.
Well,
what that just changes when it becomes physical? I don't see the difference.
I don't really feel like your motivations and intentions are the same. They mean to abuse us and
no. That's your victimhood complex. That's your victimhood complex. That's your victimhood complex. They say the same thing about me here. I'm not going for it. You're not going to create separation and division where there's oneness.
I mean, I don't know.
You're not going to make me a hero and then say that I'm godlike and that I have completely pure intentions and I'm nothing like
saying that.
It's very much a lot of the same stuff going on in both places. And you will say in this moment that I'm not doing certain things, and 80% of other people who interact with me say, Paul, he's just there to be narcissistic and abuse everyone. That's your victim. It's what you let it be.
So you do this because you feel like
do this because there's nothing for a pimp to do but pimp. I can't get any more basic than that, while also being about it and triggering.
So out of boredom,
there you go again. You just keep. This is what I mean. You will continue to project on whatever I say, whatever you need to believe for you to understand, and just not accept what I'm putting forth or try to understand it.
So your motivation is no motivation. You just.
Why do I have to have a motivation to live my purpose? That's you. That's you and everyone else without an understanding of self and purpose and what we're doing here. I don't need a motivation to live my purpose. It's my purpose. It's who and what I am.
Okay.
It's like asking a pimp why he pimps. Because you think it's for pussy, because you think it's for power, because you think it's for money. It's because he don't have nothing else to do here but live his purpose. As far as he's concerned, I'll say the same thing for me. What else would I be doing right now? And for the last 1,000 days? What else would I be doing?
I mean,
that would be as interesting, as entertaining, as impactful, as informative, as revealing, as co-creative, as simulating, if you want to use that as a word. What I'm going to go work at Arby's?
Well, that's not what I was going to suggest, but that's funny.
I'm going to go sell feet pics online. I'm here because it's all that I'm formed to do and be on some level, right? It's the same reason these folks are doing what they're doing. Now we can speculate what's beyond and behind that and what the implications are, but we don't need to multiply hypothesis more than necessary. right? So like Judge Slavin, like the guy Josh who came here, Slavin is there to prove who's a slave and who's not. That's his purpose. Isn't that my purpose? Including me? Are we not the same person? Slavin is a fat pig. I have been to at certain points, and his name is Slavin. Mine's Unslaved, essentially. We're both doing the same thing. We're proving directly and indirectly, including me and him, who's a slave and who's not.
Okay.
It's an amazing process. It's the same thing Brian O'Shea's doing. It's the same thing you're doing. It's the same thing William's doing. Most are just not aware. You're proving with your own life and everyone else's experience who's a fucking slave and who's not. Who's in a power position and a position of understanding and faith and honorability and who's not. Who's in a position of greatness and recognizing greatness and who's not. You want to make it all about all the rest, just like parents with kids. They were this, they were that. Well, maybe the narcissistic, abusive ones who are actually that, but the rest of them are just trying to see where you're at. So the moment that the child becomes age of reason and coming of age story and does what they're supposed to do is the moment the parents say, we've done our job, we got to go now. We don't need to do anything else. That's what's actually going on with the courts and the government a majority of the time. I'm not saying all the time everywhere. There's a lot of sick, twisted people running around every venue. I might be one of them, if you ask certain people.
So where does it
But ultimately, there's a bigger purpose and process going on here, and it works perfectly.
Yeah,
if you can see that.
You're doing well. I mean, where does it progress to, though? Is there a progression of your existence, or are you just chilling where you are?
I don't even know what that means. All of life is essentially concentric circles and loops. It's a life cycle for a reason. The question is kind of getting off one loop and on another loop, if that makes sense. So I don't know, like you're asking me, am I progressing within my life journey as Paul Unslaved with a body in certain ways? Am I learning and growing and changing? Yeah. Does the universe change or the themes around it? No. Is there any separation or difference between what I'm doing here and what they're doing there? No. This is a four-walled venue. That's what a court is defined as. I'm the host. I open up an area and I call forth an understanding and an idea, and people get on record and we decide who's who and what's what to move forward with whatever community we're a part of. I don't see the difference. The only difference is, again, people get fearful and they start projecting onto it instead of just seeing it for what it most likely is and what other people's results show. Just like the guy yesterday, Mr. Nude Guru, another enlightened genius, goes, jails are for people who X, Y, Z, 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 whatever he wanted it to be, because he was scared in order to keep him from actualizing and realizing and continuing the path. When the facts show the opposite, because if what he said was true, I wouldn't be here right now. So they look right at reality, ignore reality, and make a statement based on what they don't want or want to be true, based on their fear space, instead of going, wait a second, if what I just said was true, how could Paulie and so many others here be out and still talking and have dismissals when jail is for XYZ people who don't want to conform, he said. That's not true. If jail was for people who didn't want to conform, me, Brian O'Shea, and like half a dozen other people who've come here, more than that, dozens, David and all the rest of them would be there right now. We're not. So jail's actually for people who do conform to the Babylonian culture and archetype. That's how you wind up there, by believing in all their crap and not knowing how to stand with God and for yourself. Am I off on this?
No. I mean, dude, look, man, I just fucking beat the feds, homie. Like, I mean, goddamn, like I'm with you like on that 100%. Yes, this is our duty, even if you want to use that word. I mean, look, man, our purpose as individuals who have, but see, here's the thing. It's like,
so you're not a victim, then you're a victor, or do you not know where you're at? Because you can't keep going, I beat the feds, homie, and then saying they're abusing us and victimizing us. Are you a victor or a victim?
No, I wouldn't say victim. It's like trickery. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just deception. So that's what I'm saying.
What, you mean that like how I do here with thousands of people who've come through here, when I talk to them directly, they bullshit themselves and me constantly, so I have to play little gambits to get the truth out of them? You mean like that?
So you're saying that you're like them in some way? Absolutely.
I've learned that through this. I'd love to tell you something different, like the rest of these non-truthers who never walk the actual walk. Yeah, I'd love to try to pretend I'm Jesus and I'm a virginal Jesus and I don't have a dick and I have no testosterone and there's no darker aspect to me. I'm part of creation, like night and day, like sun and moon. I'm here. We're here. So you got to reconcile and understand it, right? Not avoid it and deny it and try to escape it.
Well, I appreciate your honesty.
So yeah, I'm absolutely like them in the sense that I've dealt with enough people to know the majority of the public are lying, scheming, cheating, bullshitting scum. And until I play gambits with them and test their metal and push buttons, they're just going to give me the rap they give everyone else at the water cooler. And I see right the fuck through it. You've seen me here many times. If you watch, I push buttons, I ask questions, I shoot straight. And if there's something to be had, it pops out at some point. That's when we get to the real shit. The court does the same thing. You squeeze an orange juice comes out. You squeeze an infidel, bad faith, dishonor comes out. There's a method to the madness. See, people want to call themselves a victim when they get squeezed and what comes out they don't like. Well, then stop holding on to that. Stop being that. Then when you get squeezed, something good will come out. And then you'll like what you see. And you'll be a victor rather than a victim. If they squeeze you and a coward pops out, of course you feel like a victim. Because you don't like who and what you are and what was on the inside. But guess what? They just showed you who and what you are. They just introduced you to who and what you are and what you could be. You should be thanking them, not crying about it. That's how you level the fuck up. When you live a life where you're constantly getting squeezed and tested, and when you see your real self pop out and see who and what you are, now you get to look at it from a different perspective and say, what am I going to do and be next time? Well, these folks want to create a safe space where they never get tested and challenged to find out who they've been, who they could be, and who they've yet to become. Then what's the point of living at that point? Yeah, just like if you go to any monk's monastery or whatever, the core of what they're going to study is going to be martial arts and mind science to be peaceful and be active in times of war if necessary to defend yourself and to uphold the truth and rights. And they're not going to consist of creating safe spaces for everyone. They're going to constantly, in a certain way and form, test and challenge everyone to get out of them who and what they are. The same thing the military is going to do. They're going to put you through your paces and test and challenge you to find out who and what you are and introduce you to a self. You know how many people go to basic training, don't know who and what they are, and come out with some level of sense of self, at least at a core level, not like, actualized and realized, but just go, hey, I didn't think I could do that till I tried, and now I know better. I'm way more empowered and inspired. It's why I can't get them to drop their military indoctrination, because it helped to make them who and what they are, right? Yeah, that's what this shaitan, this Saturnalian force is doing. It's heat and pressure. It's test and challenge. It's banging heads to get you to introduce to yourself who and what you are on a deeper level and who and what you could become. A victor rather than a victim. Most people don't like that process. They need it, but they don't like it. And instead of being thankful for it, they cry about it and never get introduced to the level up. Go ahead, David and others. We're at the 2-hour mark. I want to shut it down. I don't want to do much more than 2 hours. I did about 4 hours yesterday. I'm trying to be as deactivated as I can be. I get rather passionate and activated on here. And it's good, it's good. But like when I'm having these pains and I'm having this healing journey, I kind of want to keep that to a minimum. I don't want to go on and on and on. We're looping a lot of the same stuff over and over again in different ways anyway, as is this life experience. So you can't run from self because you run into self. Go ahead, gentlemen. Final words, if you will. And then we're back tomorrow, somewhere between 12 and 5 as always. Like, share, and subscribe, by the way, for a chance to win. Don't ask me for a chance to win what. Chance to win. Such as every experience. Whether you know it or not. It's a chance to win. Tyrants can smell a free man a mile away, right? Rules are the same in pimping and hoeing, by the way. If you got a free hoe who's not a hoe, then the rules say the pimp can't pimp on her. Right? But if he throws out all that flash and that lingo and that hoe is enticed and entranced and she starts arguing and going back and forth, you got a hoe on the line. See? So the rules are still the same, right? Even in pimping on the lowest level of consciousness, it's the same with the courts, it would seem to me, in my experience. You got a woman who's got her bonnet on and she's got a long dress and she's not living that lifestyle. She don't have that energy. She's got her head on straight. She's walking forward. She's not entertaining other shit. You can't pimp on her. Can't even approach her. But when you see a hoe, you know a hoe when you see one, and now it's time to pimp, right? Same thing with slavery and genocide, consciousness and awareness or lack thereof. Same thing with governance. Governance of self or governance outside of self. Shaitan is an ally for you. Did I say that? Do you want to make it enemy and ally? You want to do this or that-ism. You want to be in extremism. You want to be unreconciled. You want to not resolve the paradox. I'm telling you that no one can escape the dynamic of what goes on here and self. Part of what goes on here is the darker aspects of self and the universe. You can't escape it. You can't deny it. You can't override it. So you might as well integrate it and understand it so you can cease to be against it and it can work for you. See, that's why it's get behind me, Satan. I put Shaitan at my back to push me forward, not to interfere with me. I let the darkness work for me and with what I'm doing, if I can. That's the practice. You want to deny it so it consumes you or interferes with you. I accept it for what it is, my greatest teacher and tester and challenger to make me in the image of the Most High, constantly remaking me into the image of the Most High on this journey to completion. So as long as you put Shaitan at your back and it's there to push you forward into becoming more made in the image of the Most High, that's not a negative thing. You all want to make out nighttime to be evil inherently. Nighttime and dark is not evil inherently to me. Nighttime is an opposing dynamic to daytime. You need both to have this creation. So I'm not going to turn darker aspects of creation into something evil in my enemies so that I cease to understand them and therefore cease to understand me and this creation. I don't choose to live in ignorance and arrogance and extremism and disconnection and disintegration and confusion and chaos. I seek to reconcile that, right? You have to embrace the chaos in order to make order out of it. That sounds familiar. Order out of chaos or seeming chaos. There's no such thing as chaos here. Humans perceive chaos in an extremely intricate and incomprehensible order is what's taking place. We perceive that as chaos. We perceive it as enemy. We perceive it as whatever you want to project onto it from an appeal to emotion and false authority. What it actually is, the dark forces are here to test and challenge you or to be an opposing side of an experience because we're in a dualistic dynamic here in this creation, masculine and feminine, light and dark, night and day, hot and cold. And then there's the space between. There's the middle ground. The Tao is the middle way. You walk the middle way and all paradox is resolved. And all problem essentially is solved because there ceases to be a problem. You know how you solve a problem? Cease to create a problem. Wow. What did he? Paulie's double talking. He's talking in circles again. Your thoughts, David? Final words? Final sentiments? Shaitan equals the deceiver. I understand that. You're not teaching me. You're not showing me anything new, Mr. Whatever your name is there. Fancy name person. Another guru from the chat box. You're not telling me anything I don't know. The deceiver. You can't get deceived unless you're deceived. Unless you're a dumb hoe, you can't be deceived. So do you want to thank Shaitan for showing you how easily manipulatable and suggestible you are and how much of a dumb hoe you were? That's on you. See? Shaitan can only deceive the ones who are willing to or able to be deceived till they're not. And when they're not, they're ready to meet God. Hello. Your thoughts, David?
Yeah, I really appreciate y'all. I've learned a lot. My phone died a little earlier, but I finally got it hooked back on here, man. I appreciate everything because these are the type of high level conversations I like being a part of. And it's crazy that some people's experiences with these type of conversations are only when they're locked up or something. And, you get a group of guys out here. I'm going to connect y'all too. I'm going to stay connected with y'all. And I got some other guys that are doing some things around the country in Georgia, Florida, all around that we can, get connected together because that's what we do. We try to iron sharpen iron. There's some people that feel safer, more secure in their vehicles because of this. There's some people who are beating traffic tickets because of this. There's some people that are actually have the trust account open up and they're doing business. They're actually paying the bills without really paying the bills. Like the bill becomes a coupon or a credit that they put into the trust account, and then they pay it out the trust account, and it's like they don't have to pay bills anymore. And some people are
Yeah,
going
I
to
heard all
actually
that. I don't get into that.
you know,
Please, I'm not faulting
and
you. I'm not faulting you. But if you've seen this bunch that I've met on the YouTube and on these panels, you definitely don't want to introduce them to the idea that they don't have to work and do and be and can somehow get shit.
No, it ain't about that.
God bless you. You want to
it ain't about that.
These motherfuckers
No, it
got
ain't
way
about
too
that.
much and don't appreciate that,
Yeah.
and they damn sure ain't going to get an unlimited credit card. Me and others, they don't need that. That's going to take them further away from what they could be doing and being. Absolutely.
No, what it's doing is
not need an unlimited credit card right now.
No, it's just learning about trust, doing your business out the trust. Anytime you do commercial activity, which everything uses your all caps name, from bills to the
I know.
everything.
I'm aware of all that, sir. Let's wrap up. Come back tomorrow, David. Come back tomorrow.
I was just trying to get y'all. I was just trying to give y'all props, man. I appreciate everything.
They're not ready for that. You got to talk to people where they're at. They're not ready for that. That's you. That's others. Maybe. I don't even know. We'll find out. But I damn sure know a lot of these motherfuckers who come here. They're not. That's not for them. They've already squandered the too much they've gotten. They're already unappreciative, unthankful, ungrateful. They're already selfish and needy and codependent. They're already desperate, and they don't want to work and do and be to get. We don't need to introduce universal basic income through proxy of the trust. They're already going to bring that in to let these slaves atrophy and become more disempowered and codependent and needy and desperate and poor and broke and have false empowerment and strength while they don't want to do and be to get and actualize and realize and co-create, So we don't need that. That's not good right now for me. You didn't know that, but I'm telling you that. All right, David, I appreciate you, bro. We're bonded in this purpose and meaning. Come back tomorrow. Try to get some better tech because you're lagging a little bit and cutting out. I want you here as much as you can afford to be here and not fuck up your life. And that goes for everyone moving forward in this experience, right? Because we're going to work together on some level. I can already see that,
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to put you out. Cage, what's the deal, man? What's up? Cage creature. Cage slave. Hello, Cage.
Yes, Mr. Paul. Can you hear me?
What can I do for you, sir? Yeah, there you go.
Same old. You can, pull up the Manly P Hall AI because it can have a better conversation than, whatever thing you spew it back to the AI and see the response, because that could teach us a lot, if you're looking outside in, and it comes to that. I figured that, it could be enlightening and something different.
What you put something in the back, you're saying?
Yeah, Manly P Hall AI. You could talk to that.
It'd be great. I saw the creature on OTWs.
All right, but you're different though, because you can actually ask the right questions, right? So,
okay. You're buttering me up.
We're gonna butter you up. You're retarded. We're gonna inject you.
There we
you're
go.
at it too.
Yeah, that's it. Stay consistent.
Yeah, we're gonna hit you with fucking fentanyl and make you retarded.
All right. Well, I saved it. I got it up there. I'll do Manly P Hall AI tomorrow at your suggestion. If you want to join me for it,
you should do it right now, buddy. Unless you want to have a conversation.
I should do. Okay. So now you know what? Silly me once again, man. I had an opportunity to turn all of my life and affairs over to Cage to manage my life and my broadcast, and once again, I didn't do that, and I probably should think about doing that.
You probably should.
Yeah. It always kind of, that opportunity always eludes me,
What are your thoughts on
eludes me, not eludes me, rather.
What are your thoughts on Luigi there?
Excuse me?
Luigi? Your thoughts on Mr.
I don't have any thoughts on the majority of these people and their games and their lies and their nonsense. It's all nonsense.
It's all a bunch of bullshit, buddy.
It always is. Isn't it always? Isn't it always
not
something
all the time? Sometimes there is
told?
Something real there. Some people make something.
Listen,
real.
bro, you want to boil down of it? When you get into extreme fascism and corporatism and end times of a civilization and empire, people start getting thrown off roofs and shot in the head. And that's where we've been at for the past 10 years. I don't know if you've noticed, but like for the past decade or so, you got like big head of corporations being thrown off roofs, they're jumping, committing suicide. Many of them getting bullets in the head. Yeah, this is called a reclamation period. This is called a power vacuum. This is called the part of the Dark Knight Batman movie where necessary evil Bane comes in and gives the people back the cities and the countries,
I
right?
hear you,
And then
sir.
everyone
I
gets
say
their just
it comes
desserts.
to collect one way or the other, either way, right?
Right. Evil's going to get it back in blood. You can't run from self because you run into self. Back to that integration of the dark side, right? What you seek to escape from and avoid eventually will consume you. So yeah, when you've been living in evil and darkness for the longest time and there's no reckoning, at some point there's a reckoning, right? And that's exactly what you have going on here.
Well,
Now, it's not
going
to
to
say it
come
won't
back
be
tenfold to collect whatever you put out, you know, whatever you think you thought you gained from it.
right.
It's gonna
That's
come
why
back.
it's foolish to think that you're going to profit in any way by living in and of the world and doing corruption, because whatever you gain will be taken back from you tenfold in blood, just like dealing with the mafia.
There we go. Now we're getting into it. Why
All
is
right,
it
I
so
gotta
hard
piss,
for
man. I want to
folks
get out of here.
understand?
Come on, Cage, back tomorrow, bro. I'm here. I'll let you up. We can interact. We'll do Manly Hall. I got it. We're on it.
That's tomorrow. Okay.
Tomorrow's another
If I'm
day.
here, maybe like a few
You'll
days.
be here.
and have-
I happen to know that you're a very rich man and powerful man, and you don't have much to do, so you'll be here.
I'm not rich or powerful, Paulie.
Okay, I'm giving your bullshit back to you that you give me.
I'm
It's not
as
taking
rich as
somehow.
powerful
It's
as
not
you.
taking.
You know?
He gives it out, but he won't take it back. I don't blame him. It's not. He can't
We're
buy
gonna
it.
fucking we're gonna
It's
cut
not
your
buying
fucking
it.
face off and make it wear.
Now
it
you
at that
understand
point,
my
you fucking
experience.
pussy ass.
All right,
Yeah,
get the
bro.
hell out of here, Cage, man. It doesn't matter how nice I tell you folks or how much I beg and plead. You're going to sit here and jack me off and pull on my ear, right? You know, you're going to tug on my ear and give me an ear beating. I don't need an ear beating, all right? I appreciate you being here, Cage. I'm back tomorrow. You can be number one up here right off the bat. We'll go Manly P Hall. We'll play games. We'll fuck off. Whatever you want to do, bro. I'm here for it. Right now, I got to go. I got to urinate. I got to drain my bladder. I'm thankful and grateful. I'm honored to be here. Small doses at times. I need to heal. I'm doing fasting. I was getting lightheaded before. Not making excuses, just again, wanting to stay focused, wanting to stay in alignment, wanting to move forward, better myself in my life, and give away my results to everyone else. If it's a benefit, if it's empowering, if it's inspiring, if it's entertaining, if not, go fuck yourself in the nicest and most loving and caring way possible. Paul and appreciated on the way out, which can never be true because one of the meanings of appreciated means the value that one holds. I've set my value, or it's actually the value you set for self. I've set my value so high that no one can pay the price. So I can never be bought off. I can never sell my soul. That means I'll always be appreciated within me and the spirit. I'm not interested if folks appreciate me outside as much as I am that process. All right. Say goodnight to the bad guy. I'm out of here. Beta bitches from top to bottom. Worried about what Paulie's gonna do and be when they haven't done and been nothing yet. Not even with their own damn women and children. Beyond embarrassing and pathetic. Bunch of beta males raised by Jezebels, tricked out of their power and position, won't act like men because they're too busy replicating the bitch who didn't raise them. Laughable, the shit that you folks say and do. You don't even realize it's an indictment on yourself and your lineage. Tired of you bitch ass motherfuckers yapping online. This shit's boring. We've been doing this for years now. It's boring. I want to take things to the next level. What is there, maybe 1% of the world who can understand and communicate effectively what's going on and master themselves to a degree that they can move forward and make change? Right. So about 1% of folks we meet on here are going to replicate the 1% in the world. The rest of the 95, 98, whatever it is percent are going to be loser, failure, cowards who are rejecting, ignoring, and projecting and asking for a master to pay to do it. It makes sense if you don't think about it. If you just understand inherent hierarchical power and value systems and dynamics, and you don't have to feel any way about it. I'm not hopeless because of that. I'm motivated and inspired by that. I'm on the right side of history and truth. I'm chosen by God. I'm in a minority here. I don't need the tattoos on my skin. I got real symbols of power and value that work for me on the ground and cause and effect. Bitch ass motherfucker. And I'll say it out the side of my mouth after you break my jaw. It's not going to change the reality. Money can't buy class. Money can't unlame you. Money can't unslave you. Can't unslave or empower the masses. Only knowledge can do that. And I've been giving that the fuck away since the beginning while proving concepts. Next. Why are you mad? I'm not mad. I'm not mad. This is how us East Coasters care and are passionate for truth. The rest of you apparently around the world don't know how we are. This is not mad. If I was mad, I'd stop yelling. I'd stop talking. I'd figure out a way to stop you from doing what I don't like. If I was actually mad and angry and didn't see any point and see redeemability, I just cut you the fuck off and move on with my life, which I very rarely, if ever, have done. Because I'm so forgiving and patient, long game, while you folks are so insufferable and frustrated.
God damn
your
it.
insanity. Looping and spinning and cycling and pretending you don't know what the fuck I'm saying and why it applies. And focusing on everything else but that, including my tone and my facial expressions and all the rest of it. I think it's a rather interesting game, actually, that you're all playing. Doesn't amount to anything. I know I'm right. You know I'm right. You know a change needs to happen. You're not going to do it. And we're going to play games on how Paulie Boy's not incredible. Let's go. Let's do it. Doesn't change the facts. Doesn't change the facts. I had to learn as well how to, at times, shut up and observe and try to catch the move of what's happening and what things are about. Not by spinning and cycling and asking rhetorical questions and then not listening to him. Questions, comments, concerns, presentments, projections, rejections, obfuscations, deflections, presumptions, assumptions, imagined disagreements. I'm open to all of it. I'm talking about consciousness and awareness and life, whether that relates on the micro level to the participants here today, and then indirectly on the macro level to every other self, because on the highest level, we're all one self. I prove that here regularly by you folks coming in here and doing and saying the same exact fucking things, even down to responding and reacting to what I say, the same things, the same way. Proving there's only one self. Just like the I Ching says, there's only 64 combinations of what's going to go on here.
Low lives! Yay! Low life! Right? Dumb, retarded low life.